Jean's on the line. Hello, Jean.
Hello.
Hello, Jean. I gather you have a consumer problem. Well, I gather it's regarding your daughter, really. Tell me everything without naming any company names, please.
Okay. Well, it started just before Christmas. We had some packages addressed to my daughter in her maiden name. Bearing in mind she hasn't lived at this address for 7 years. She's been married for 5. She's got absolutely no accounts in her maiden name at all. Anyway, these packages, we had 3 or 4, so she opened them and they were all electronic bits and they all had a return slip in.
Like what? Give me an example of the kind of electronic bit.
Well, they were wires, connections, computer switches, timers, and laptop keyboards.
So components rather than...
Oh, yes, components.
Freestanding products, like a toaster or a kettle. It was all bits that you would use to build something or repair something.
Yes.
How very weird.
Yeah, and then they just kept arriving. Anyway, due to the fact that you could build something with them, we contacted the company and they said... we're doing nothing wrong. The packages are addressed to you. They're your packages. Don't worry about it. So they weren't interested at all.
Oh, no, I don't mean to be dramatic here, but I mean the kind of stuff that was being sent. There's no way it could be stuff that you could build a bomb with. Is there?
Well, that's that's one reason I and my daughter we went to the police.
Yeah, I mean, that would certainly cross my mind if you've started getting all these various wires and switches and components.
Yeah. Well, I went to the police purely because of that, and also I didn't want any sort of anybody turning up on my doorstep demanding all these, packages.
Yeah.
But the police said there's no crime being committed. And they couldn't do anything. They gave me a crime reference number just in case something happened. But again, they said, they advised me really just to return them. Because on the front of the envelope, it's a prepaid label and it's got the sender's address.
Oh, okay. So did you contact the sender to say, why are you sending all this stuff?
Well, no, we've had 98 packages now.
Yeah.
All from different senders, never the same sender. They're all private addresses from all over the country.
How weird. So these are private individuals selling on... What is this, on an internet auction site?
Yes.
Right. So these are private individuals selling on an auction site who are sending your daughter stuff...
Back to the auction site.
Sorry, say that again.
They're returning them back. Inside each package that we have opened, there's a returns label, and reason is didn't fit or changed my mind, didn't want it.
But why would they send those items to your daughter?
I've no idea. And this is what we just can't get to the bottom of. I mean, to begin with, it was in a way funny, but we've had 98 now. We get sort of 2 or 3 a week.
Well, I mean, if someone returns a Lamborghini, I mean, that would be very nice, wouldn't it, really? But it doesn't...
The other week, the post office van arrived, knocked the door, and he'd gone. I went to the door, and we'd got a treadmill.
What, a full-on treadmill?
Yes. Well, it wasn't an electronic one. It was a manual one. And then, I mean, things came to a head the other week, the week before last. The post lady, she couldn't get the box out of the van. It was so heavy. So my husband said to her, we're just refusing delivery. We don't want it. Take it back. And so I've no idea what was in that box. So all we do now is when we get a package, I just press out my address and put return to sender.
It was so heavy the woman couldn't get it off the van?
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
I dread to think what was in it. But
this is so weird. So people are buying stuff from this internet auction site.
Yeah.
They're then, for whatever reason, deciding that they don't want it.
Yeah.
And then they're sending it to your daughter at your house rather than returning it to the internet auction site.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's very weird.
So we're just returning them back to the sender now. But I've contacted the site twice, and and my daughter has contacted them as well, and they've just brushed it off and said, "Don't worry, you're not doing anything wrong." But I just can't see who's gaining anything from it.
No, I can't. I mean, this seems very strange. It's very, very strange indeed.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody listening to the programme has heard of this kind of thing going on, and if you can tell me what's happening here, because this seems very weird. Why is it in anyone's interest to return items from an internet auction site to a third party and then lose everything?
Yeah.
I mean, I presume those people don't get their money back for the items they're returning because they've never arrived back at the seller.
Yeah. I've no idea. I mean, we haven't had any from sort of in Luton or sort of near Luton that we can actually go to the house and sort of say, where did you get this address from?
Well, that would be ideal, wouldn't it? I mean, if you could track down someone who sent something and say, we have got to ask you, where did you get our address and the name from?
Most people that I can read have sent me the packages back, but there's just an address. There's obviously no phone number or anything.
Well, I can't work out.
It's just bizarre. It's just beyond a joke, I mean, some weeks we're getting sort of 10 packages.
It sounds like a scam.
Mm.
It sounds like you're caught up in some kind of scam, but I can't quite work out what the scam is.
No, because my daughter's not got any accounts, and she's not paying for anything or losing any money through any accounts, and not getting letters sort of asking her for money or anything.
And is it always the same courier company that tries to deliver them?
There's the post office. Oh, sorry. Yes.
They come through Royal Mail?
Through Royal Mail, yes.
It's very strange. And have you tried contacting Royal Mail to see if they know anything about it?
I did. I sent them an email, sort of said, could they block any packages to our house?
Yeah, but you don't want that. But hang on a second, you don't want that, because what happens if you then don't receive something that you have genuinely ordered?
Yeah, well, they said they couldn't do that anyway. If a package is addressed to my address, they have to deliver it.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't want to end up with a warehouse full of wires and switches and stuff you haven't ordered. I mean,
no.
Apart from anything else, it must be very frustrating, and that your doorbell must be going constantly.
Yeah.
Dear, oh dear. Yeah. Well, this is odd. I mean, look, what I'm going to do, I'm more than happy to go and have a word with the internet auction site to ask them what they feel is going on here. But I'm very interested to know if anybody listening to the programme has heard of this kind of thing happening, if you're able to shed any light on what might be going on here and who benefits from this. 08081 008800 is the telephone number for your call, because it sounds very strange indeed. Jean, what I'll do, I'm going to pass you back to the team. We'll get some detail. And, hang on a second. James in Royston. Hello, James.
Hi, JVS.
Hi. Have you heard of this kind of thing happening before?
I've come across something similar for this particular place where these packages are possibly being listed, and it sounds a lot like the particular seller might be giving a return address that is a stolen identity, because then they can claim that they haven't received the package and potentially then retain the refund, or the refund that should be sent out to these poor people who are trying to send them. Do you see what I mean?
So the company that's selling, let's say, wiring and switches, they put a fraudulent returns address, i.e. Jean's daughter's name, her maiden name, at Jean's address. They put that as the return address. But then surely that wouldn't work, because surely the internet auction site, when they say to the buyer, well, where's your proof that you sent it back and it was received? Surely there would be evidence that it was sent back to Jean's address and that someone at Jean's address signed for it.
Well, yeah, but that they can turn around and say, well, you sent us these pictures that, you've sent it, but it's not our address. We haven't received it.
Yeah, but surely the seller will say, but that was the address that was on the... the buyer would say that was the address that was on the seller's information when they sold the stuff.
Well, I guess that would purely come down to what particular site this is. Because I don't know if this is a company or an individual, but having come across something very similar, they give an address which is in no way associated with this individual or company, and you're thinking, well, this doesn't sound right. This is just some private address. I can't think of any other situation, because how would you come across such a random address? But as I said, I've come across something similar before using what I think is a very, very similar auction site, because it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever just to generate a random address. Because as you sort of alluded to, this is a problem that's generated nearly 100 packages, and sounds like they're trying to find a sneaky way of retaining what would be a refund.
Hang on a second. Could this text that's come in, have they hit the nail upon the head? Hang on, listen to this. This person says, it sounds like someone has set up a fake seller profile selling either rubbish or illegal goods. When people buy the goods, the fake seller gets the money. But if anyone does return the goods for a refund, the seller cannot then be traced. So is it someone selling wiring and switches and bits and pieces that's all stolen? But what they've done is they've put Jean's address as the returns address. 90% of the stuff, whoever has bought it, they keep it, they pay for it, they move on. The 10% who don't want the stuff and they send it back, poor Jean has to put up with getting that back. But it does mean that the seller is untraceable.
Yeah, and she might not be the only person who's receiving packages.
But then you would think that the internet auction site, if they are then made aware of that, you would think that they would want to try and link the items that are sold with that address to make sure that doesn't continue happening.
Well, yeah, but as you said, the person has said, if there's someone who's moving around and trying to be very, very sneaky about it, they might have multiple accounts and a switch in between them, and if one's blocked, they'll just open another one. Sounds
there we
like
go.
Very shady dealing.
It does sound very shady, doesn't it? James, thanks very much indeed. Right, well, Jean,
yes,
I think that text may well have hit upon it. I think it may well have hit upon it. It's either someone selling electrical goods that are not legal to be sold in the UK, but most people just hang on to them and don't return them. It's only a small number of people, but your daughter ultimately, she is listed as the seller of those goods. So if anyone was going to be traced, it would be your daughter. But you would imagine the internet auction site would want to know about that and would show an interest. Look, let me get a call into them. Let me see if I can find out what's going on, and we'll take it from there, OK?
OK, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jean. Luann's 22-year-old son loves playing computer games and wanted to order a gaming chair. He found one he liked. It cost £274 plus delivery, and he ordered it in February of last year. It was delivered within a week, and everything was absolutely fine with that chair until December.
It started going down on its own. It was the gas inside the chair that normally keeps it up or lets it lower down. It obviously had some kind of problem, and it kept just dropping when you sat in the chair or turned at a certain angle. It just kept dropping. He's 6'4", so obviously he has it down quite low anyway, but it's just that little bit higher than it is when it's dropped to the lowest point.
Well, Luann's son contacted the retailer, explained the situation. The retailer apparently said, well, we need the serial number before we can do anything about it. They told him where he could find the serial number, but Luann said to me, we've looked everywhere on this chair, we cannot find the serial number anywhere. And the company is saying, unless we provide the serial number that doesn't seem to exist, they're not going to do anything. Well, it's ridiculous. And I went to express how ridiculous that was to the company on Luann's behalf. She's back on the JVS show. Hello, Luann.
Good morning, Jonathan.
So I put one of my calls into this firm last week, and they came back last thing Friday, actually, regarding all of this. And I gather you've received a call. What's going on?
Well, I can only say wow for a shockingly fast results, to be perfectly honest with you. Within 20 minutes of your show ending on Friday, I had a phone call from a gentleman from the company who sounded a little bit traumatised. I don't know what you did to him.
I'm not sure I did anything to traumatise him, but there we go. Maybe he's a delicate flower.
Yeah, but anyway, it seemed to have the effect. They basically came back and said that they were really sorry. It should never have got to this stage. It should have been escalated well before the fifth or sixth email, let alone the 12th email that had been sent. And they basically said that you can either have a full refund of the product, or he could swap it for one of their own branded chairs, which was slightly more expensive. So he went off and had a look at them, found they weren't quite big enough for what he was looking for, so he opted for a full refund, of which he has received, and he's ordered another chair.
Already?
Already, yeah.
Wow.
It was done and dusted on Friday afternoon.
Wow. They really didn't want to hear from me again, did they?
No, definitely not. But I can only say thank you so much. He's so pleased, and he just said, I mean, he keeps saying to me, Mum, I'm really, really grateful for you helping me out. So I didn't know where to go. I said, it's not me you need to thank, it's Jonathan and his team, because you do your stuff and you know it well.
Well, it's nice to be able to assist, so I will thank this company very much indeed. To be fair, I've never had a complaint about them before. They were very polite, helpful on the telephone, so I don't think they're bad eggs. No, I think this was just one of those things, unfortunately, for them, but they've resolved it now, so that's what matters.
Absolutely, and as I say, we've dealt with them before, and we've never had a problem with them. It's just this one, we were just going round and round and round in circles, and just couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, which you have got for us, and we're very grateful. Thank you very much. So
Great
you
stuff.
can play your toodly-doot.
I'm going to give my toodly-doot, otherwise known as my horn. I will thank the company. Any other problems, Luann, you know where we are. Now, Rachel purchased a bed in January 2021. It was delivered at the end of March. It cost her £2,000 for the bed and the mattress together. But there was a problem with the bed frame. When the company finally agreed to replace it, they said that Rachel would have to wait for another 3 months. Well, she thinks it's only reasonable that if they're going to replace the bed frame, they should replace the mattress as well, as it's not her fault they haven't managed to get its act together.
I didn't spend so much money on a mattress to sleep on the floor with it for 6 months before a bed come. I'm not saying my house is dirty, but it's a brand new mattress to go in my brand new bed, and it's been living on the floor. And I said, if you can't do that, just come and take back the mattress then. And then, again, they haven't contacted me back about the mattress.
But Rachel wasn't very happy at all, so I promised her I would get a call into the company. I have done just that, and Rachel's back on the JVS show. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Jonathan.
Now,
how are you?
It was interesting because you purchased this bed from DFS. And as I mentioned to you before, I had no idea DFS even sold beds. I thought they were sofas, but apparently they sell beds as well. They came back, and their initial response, I think it's safe to say, made you rather angry.
Yes, it did.
I could sense down the phone you were seething by the end of it. DFS said, we sincerely apologise for any inconvenience or discomfort caused while Rachel waits for her new bed frame to arrive. The mattress and the bed frame purchased by Rachel, they're sold as two separate items, so the customers can pick and choose the option that's right for them. They're therefore not sold as a set. We have acknowledged that on this occasion the bed frame appears to be faulty, and our team has already ordered a replacement for them, as the products come from different suppliers and the mattress isn't faulty, and therefore it doesn't need replacing. Our product quality team has advised that using the mattress on a clean floor will not have a detrimental effect on its performance. We can ensure, Rachel, that the new bed frame is being exchanged for a like-for-like product, and it will fit perfectly with the mattress. Our team will continue to keep in touch with them about an expected delivery date. Well, that didn't satisfy you at all, because you'd been very clear on the phone to me. You said, right, I will accept one of two things. Either I want a new mattress as well to go with the new bed frame, because I'm sorry, if I've had my existing mattress on the floor for all that time, having to sleep on the floor, then I want a new one. I don't think it's reasonable that I should have to take a mattress that's been on the floor and then put it on my nice new bed. It's not what I ordered at all. So I either want a new mattress to go with the bed, or I want my money back. And in fact, you were saying to me that you had tried to formally reject the goods, as you were entitled to do within the first 30 days under the Consumer Rights Act, when it first became apparent there was this fundamental problem with the bed frame. Yeah. And indeed you sent that to me, although I have to be honest, when I saw the email, you were quite angry when you sent that email, weren't you?
Yes, I was, yes. And I even mentioned your name in that email.
Yeah, I've seen. I saw you mention my name, and you certainly...
I warned them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I warned them.
I mean, what I would say, just for future reference, and this is just general advice for everyone listening to the programme, I know how frustrating it is when things don't go according to plan. Just always remember when you're emailing a company to say, for example, that you are dissatisfied because the product is faulty and you want to return it, you want your money back. Just remember to be very businesslike in terms of the language that you use. Because if the argument ends up in court, just remember that will be brought up. That email will be brought up. And if you've ended up kind of threatening the company and saying, you stink and you've done this, and just bear in mind, it might undermine your argument. So, I'm sure it was just a rare moment of anger from you that spilled into that email.
It was frustrating. It has been frustrating because as well as lack of sleep as well. Like I've got a disabled son, Jonathan. Like my bed is my sanctuary.
Right.
He's up. He don't go to sleep until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. He's up at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning again. And my days start that early. So my bed is my sanctuary. And for it to not be that sanctuary for how long, it had to take for me.
But you did write in your email, my back is hurting. I'm not a happy customer. I'll be taking this matter to social media and Jonathan Vernon Smith's consumer complaints, and I'm going to make sure no one buys a bed from you scammers. I mean, it's just... do you see what I mean? It's just... It does...
It's true.
In the cold light of day, it just doesn't sound very businesslike.
No, it doesn't.
What I'm saying to you is, when you're really frustrated, deep breath in, and write it in the same way that you would do if you were writing something for work. Be calm, polite, but robust. Now, it would appear that DFS are not going to hold that email against you, because I did go back to them and said, look, Rachel's not happy. They have come back with a further response. They say, we apologise unreservedly for the inconvenience caused to Rachel and her husband, and we are happy to honour her wishes. We will arrange for a full refund and collection of the mattress. Our customer service team will be in touch with Rachel to arrange this.
Yes.
Have you heard from them?
Yes, and they're coming to collect the bed this Friday.
Good.
And the mattress, on Friday coming.
Okay. And then you're getting a full refund for it?
Yes.
Right. Okay, fine. And did you accepted that, and it's all kind of on good terms now?
Yeah, definitely. It is.
Right. Yeah. Okay, fine. Well, look, I tell you what I'm going to do for DFS. A bit of the horn. They'll get the rest as soon as you've got your money back. Can we touch base end of the week, beginning of next week, when that's happened, and hopefully they'll be able to get the rest of their horn. Heather came to me. She was telling me she purchased a new washing machine in November 2018. It cost her £225, but a year later it broke down.
They sent a man to repair it, but he couldn't repair it, so they sent a new one, which I received in November 2019, and now that's broken down. And when I rang them up and asked them about a repair, they said, well, you haven't paid insurance on it, so we can't do anything about it. I only use it once a week, sometimes twice a week. Mm-hmm. So it's not used excessively, and it's not a heavy washing that I do. And I did expect it to last a bit longer.
Well, the simple fact is, when you purchase a product, as regular listeners to the programme will be very familiar with now, my usual mantra that I'm always banging on about, when you purchase a product, you are protected by the Consumer Rights Act of 2015. That states that the product must be fit for purpose. It must be of reasonable quality and it must last for a reasonable amount of time. If the product does not last for a reasonable amount of time, and before any retailer ever fobs you off with the whole, oh, it's over 12 months old, there's nothing we can do, which is a load of old nonsense. If the product doesn't last for a reasonable amount of time, you are fully within your rights to go back to that retailer and to ask that they resolve the matter for you. Now, obviously, if the retailer suspects that you, the customer, has damaged the product or you've misused it in some way, then of course they don't have to do anything to help you. But on the basis that if that's not the case, if you haven't damaged the product, if you haven't misused it, then that retailer has an obligation to you for a reasonable amount of time from the date of purchase. And I was arguing to this retailer that whether the product was replaced in 2019 or not, it still hadn't lasted for a reasonable amount of time. Thankfully, their response was excellent. Heather's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Heather.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Heather. Right, so I did go off and speak to this company on your behalf. They're Argos. And they came back. They said, we've looked into this. We can see the replacement washing machine was delivered to Heather in October 2019. Unfortunately, this means that it is no longer covered under warranty. But our Careline team has reviewed Heather's history with this product, and we have arranged to replace it with a different model as a gesture of goodwill. We've also apologised for the inconvenience this experience has caused. Well, I think things should have happened since that email came into me. What's the latest, Heather, from your end?
Yes, I had a washing machine Friday, and my neighbour's plumbed it in today, and I've just done some washing in it. So,
wow.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, wow on two fronts, really. I mean, firstly, you've got your washing machine, but also you've got a neighbour who's capable of plumbing in a washing machine. That's handy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very handy, yeah.
Isn't it? Wow, lovely. So it's all working and you're happy?
Yes, thank you ever so much, and your team, yes, thank you, really.
Is it nice and smooth? I bought a new washing machine. I'll be honest with you, Heather. I'll let you into a secret. Earlier this year, I bought a washing machine that I've wanted for quite some time. It's an expensive one, but the reason it's expensive is it's designed to last for about 20 years.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
It's the quietest spinner I have ever experienced in my life. When it's spinning, you can hardly hear it. It's incredible.
No, this one wasn't too noisy neither.
Good.
So,
yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I'm absolutely delighted.
I'm thrilled to bits. Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, well, I'm delighted that it's all sorted for you, and you can get all. A good thing is with the weather like today, get it all out on the line.
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Oh, and there's nothing quite like bed sheets that have been washed and then dried on the line. Lovely.
My daughter's down here, so she'll hang it out for me.
Well, that's very handy, isn't it? Right, well, listen, I'm going to thank Argos very much indeed. I will give them the horn. Any other problems, you know where we are.
Thanks to the team.
Now, Susan wanted a new shed. She found one online for just under £400. She hired the services of a local man to put it together for her. He was going to charge her 150 quid. But when he started the work, he said, I've got to be honest, this shed, it's a bit flimsy.
That evening, I went up to the shed and opened the door with a view to starting to get some garden tools back in. And then I realised just how bad it was. There were so many knots, and it was a sunny evening. You couldn't have known this before, but you could see all the sun coming through the holes. And then I could see that the latch was tacky, the doors were not very strong. And since then it's rained, and although it's supposed to have a heat treatment on it, they did tell me when I queried about painting it with something to preserve it, they said don't do it yet because it's had this heat treatment. But since it's rained in the last few days and I've gone inside, there's actually so much water coming in so many places. I think the wood is actually just really shoddy.
Well, Susan's not at all happy with this. She says that she complained to the company and they said, OK, well, look, if you want to take the whole thing down and send it back to us in exactly the position it was in, then we'll give you a refund. But she said she'll have to pay the guy another 150 quid to come and take it down. Then she's paid £300 to end up right back at square one. She's not happy at all. Well, I went off to have a word with the company that she purchased the shed from, and they weren't really budging. But let's find out what the latest is and how we can take this further forward, because Susan's back on the JVS show. Hello, Susan.
Oh, hello, Jonathan. Good morning.
Good morning to you. So, just to briefly recap the response from the company, they said that you had indeed purchased the shed. You contacted them on the 17th of April with a concern about green marks on the shed. They said that it was explained that this was residue from the pressure treatment process. You then contacted them on the 20th of April to report further issues. You reported cracks in the knots on the side wall, which are letting in light. And they then went on to say she had said to us that this had become apparent during assembly. But rather than stop and contact us, she had no choice but to go ahead and to complete the assembly. They then quoted from your original email, in effect using that against you to say, well, you've admitted that you, even though you were concerned about it while it was being put up, you still went ahead and put the thing up, so we can't be blamed for that, in effect. They went back on and they said, as far as we're concerned, the shed is fit for purpose. However, and we've offered some silicone to fill the holes if you want that. Alternatively, if you do want to pack the whole thing up and send it back to us, we'll give you a refund as a goodwill gesture, they were saying. So you and I had a chat last time in terms of how you could take this further forward. And I said to you that the first thing we need to do is just get another opinion, really, to make sure that the guy that fitted it for you, to make sure, not that we are disbelieving his ability, but it would just help to get another opinion for someone to say, yes, the shed has been put together perfectly. It's nothing to do with the installation. It's down to the quality of the materials that are used in the shed. And I think you were going to get someone to have a look at it end of last week. You asked me to hold off until you'd done that. So what's happened?
Yes, I've got a regular gardener who also is competent in putting up sheds and so on. And he came round and he actually took some better photographs of the problems, which I emailed to you because you couldn't really see in my first photographs about the problems. But he agreed it would continually present problems and it wasn't going to be any good, and it wasn't due to the construction. He said basically the overlaps barely overlap, and some places it didn't overlap at all and the wood was loose. The overlap edges, many splits where they put the tack or the nail in, because it's so close to the edge of the wood, there's lots of splits where they're joining it up. Because there's so little overlap. And he pointed out the wood horizontal to the doorway was so warped it was never going to keep water out. So, cut a long story short, Jonathan, after his advice, I then spoke to my installer, the original installer, and he made a better offer. He took pity on me, shall we say, or he understood I was under some stress, and so he offered to dismantle it for £50, to completely dismantle it. So it has been, I took up that offer and it is now completely dismantled, and it's tied up in the same amount of pieces as it was on arrival. So if I would like to think the company would now collect it, and I'd like to be assured, that I would be assured of a full refund, because obviously it isn't exactly as it arrived, because obviously the roofing felt has been used. Not all the roofing felt, there's still some of the roll left. So that's where I am at the moment, Jonathan.
Okay, well, I mean, it's still not brilliant, though, is it? Because ultimately it's now cost you £200 to put up and take down a shed in order to get back 400 quid for the shed.
Yes. I think I've got to put it down to experience and the fact that I need to, should we say, review things a lot better if ever I buy anything again.
Well, it is, just as a bit of advice for people listening to the programme, it is certainly the case that over the years, certainly in recent years, I have dealt with a number of shed-related issues. From internet companies that sell sheds, most of the wood, I'm told by people who know about it, most of the wood is cheap Chinese wood that's travelled a very long way. And as a result of the journey that the wood has come through and the change in humidity and the way that the wood was cut in the first place and all of those other things, it means that very often the wood then doesn't fit together very nicely and you end up with a whole load of gaps and a poor quality build. So just be very aware when you are purchasing a shed from an internet company and you've never had a chance to actually see what the shed looks like in the flesh, in the way that you would do, for example, if you went to your local garden centre or to a local shed installation company, just be aware you are taking a bit of a risk. And if you're going to do that, make sure you inspect everything before you put it together, because otherwise you may well find yourself in a similar situation. I'm obviously going to go back to the company for you this afternoon, Susan, and ask them to refund you for the shed.
Yes.
What are you then going to do about another shed? Any ideas?
At the moment, I just want to make sure I get the refund back before I think about anything. Because I need, obviously, for that amount of money, I need to have that money refunded before I can even think about going forward. But if or when I do buy another shed, I would just go to a local place where I could see it. Obviously, it's easier now that we're out of lockdown to go and see places, and I've now had from various people some recommendations of places.
Well, I'm looking at the original email that I received back when they said that where's the little bit where they talked about Susan's refusing to dismantle the shed but continues to demand a refund. I think there's enough in this response to be able to argue that they'd made it clear if you did indeed dismantle it, they would then give you the refund. So I think, we can certainly say, look, come on, what more do you expect her to do? Leave it with me. I'll see if I can work some magic for you this afternoon, and we'll take it from there. Do you remember Jerry? Jerry came to me. He was telling me that he had some home improvement work done to the porch on his property. He contacted a trusted builder who did the work, but unfortunately there's been a few issues with the door. Firstly, you had a problem with the key and the locking mechanism of this door.
Along the frame of the door is some claws, and the manufacturer said, well, if you cut those claws off, you should be able to open the door, which they did do. And the manufacturer said that they will send a replacement locking mechanism. Since having the door fitted, we also had some additional lights fitted in the port, which highlighted that there was a quality issue with the door. So I sent the supplier an email to complain about it and to say that I'm rejecting the door within my 30-day period, with the hope that they were going to replace it. It arrived 3 days later, but I had to wait for the builder because he's obviously busy, etc. And I had to pay him an additional £150.
Well, Jerry doesn't think he should have to pay the £150 because it's not down to him that the door is faulty. Well, I've been off to have a word with the supplier. Now, I'm going to level with all of you, and I'm going to level with Jerry. I've not got good news, and this is complicated, so listen carefully. I'd like to say I'll say this only once, but I think I might have to say it a few times before we all understand what's going on. Jerry's back on the JVS show. Hello, Jerry.
Good morning. Oh, good afternoon, JVS.
Good afternoon to you, Jerry. Now, let me just explain the way that this works then. So you have a builder, you trust your builder, you know that he's going to do a good job for you.
Correct.
You source the front door from a company. You tell your builder which door you want and from which company. He then orders that door on a trade basis, and you pay the company with your credit card, but it's been ordered through your builder on a trade basis rather than from a consumer to a company, yes?
Correct.
That's crucial. That's crucial. The door has now, it was now become apparent that it's failed. I mean, I know that the locking mechanism failed in the first place, but now you're told you need a whole new slab for the door, which in effect is the whole actual door minus any glazing panels, the locking mechanism, the letterbox, anything else that goes on it, the door furniture, the hinges, etc. The slab is just the basic part of the door. Yes. The company has said that they will replace the slab, but of course you're then going to have to get your builder to come back and to swap everything over onto the new slab to create the new door, and then he's going to have to hang the door for you. That's what he's telling you he's going to charge you 150 quid for. And you don't think it's fair that you should have to pay it. Now, I agree with you, but I think it's going to be complicated because of the way the door has been ordered and purchased. I'd hoped that when I spoke to the supplier of the door, I hoped that they would go the extra mile to try and assist you. And I did stress to the company, I know you mentioned to me last time that you're not in very good health at the moment.
Correct.
And you said to me last time you were on the programme, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up again, but I think it is quite crucial to the story. You said to me that you are terminally ill. Yes. And am I right in assuming then the reason why you want to build this porch and you want to do it all is to make your property nice for your wife, so she doesn't have anything to worry about in terms of the porch and the front door and your property? You want to get that all neatly tidied up?
As well as improve on the security as well.
Okay. So I mentioned that to the supplier, and I said, there are exceptional circumstances going on here. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't seem to have made any difference. The supplier has come back with this. They say, we sympathise with Jerry on the situation he is experiencing, and we understand his frustrations with regards to the cost that he has incurred when replacement parts are required. Unfortunately, on this occasion, our customer is in fact his builder and not Jerry. Because of this, privity of contract does come into effect. Any dispute that Jerry has on this occasion is with his builder, and not with us, the supplier, or the manufacturer.
Even though I paid for it. Even though
your card paid the money, because the builder's details are on the contract is between builder and supplier on a trade basis, rather than you, the customer, ordering the door. Now, this particular front door company, for example, they do sell front doors to members of the public, like you and me. And you can go through their company where they will then find a local installer and they will then do the whole job. They will supply and fit the door. And as a result, if you had done that, your contract would be directly with that door company, and any problems with the door, you could absolutely say to them, right, you need to cover any costs associated. The problem that we have here is that because your builder has purchased the door from a supplier on a trade basis, I am presuming the contract between the builder and the supplier is such that if there are faulty parts or faulty components as part of the supply, they will replace the faulty components, but they will not cover additional costs in terms of labour costs to organise the repair. Have you mentioned to your builder, and I know this is probably a bit awkward, I don't know, is your builder, is he a friend of yours, or?
Yes, an old friend.
He's an old friend. So it's a bit awkward, really, to have the conversation, but if he knew that you ultimately were going to have to pay another 150 quid and that the supplier that he's used for the door, if he knew that supplier was not prepared to cover the cost, would he still expect you to pay him 150 quid for a problem with a door that isn't your fault?
It's a discussion I would have to have with the builder with regards to that. But I go back to the initial thing. I understood that because I paid, I was the one who signed the contract or had the contract with the supplier. So that's why my first port of call has been to talk to the supplier.
Unfortunately, all of the paperwork for the door, the order of the door, has been with your builder's name and details on it. They were supplying your builder with the front door. They were not supplying you with the front door.
I now understand that.
And therefore, unfortunately, and this privity of contract that they're talking about, what that basically means is, because they don't have a contract with you, they only have to honour the contract that was in place at the point of sale. And the contract that was in place at the point of sale, I presume, is a trade contract with a builder that says, here is the window of opportunity for you to come back with any problems with the product. We will replace the product, but we are not held accountable or responsible for any additional costs that may well be incurred in terms of facilitating the repair. And that, unfortunately, is where I'd hoped they would go the extra mile. Based on your circumstances, I hoped that they would say, do you know what? We don't want you to be out of pocket, and we will cover any cost of that, or we'll send our own people round to do it for you. But unfortunately, they're not prepared to do that. And unfortunately, you know, I can't do any more. I cannot use the BBC's name to force a company through embarrassment to do something that they are not legally obliged to do. That would not be right or proper. No. And as much as I'd hoped they would want to do that, you know, I can't force them to, I'm afraid. Damien, hello.
Hello, Jonathan.
Good afternoon. I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Of course, yeah. So a friend of mine, she's bought a rug from an online retailer. The rug has turned up and it's far too big. This is about 4 or 5 weeks ago now. So she's contacted the retailer to return the item, basically.
Did she do that immediately?
Yes, she did, yeah. Okay, and good. Ordered another one identical but slightly smaller.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me just explain. Sorry to jump in there, but let me just explain to everyone listening to the programme. When you purchase products from either a mail order company or an internet company, there are some exceptions, but most of the time you are covered by what used to be known as the distance selling regulations. It's now called the Consumer Contracts Regulations, but what that does is it gives you 14 days to return the goods if, for whatever reason, you change your mind.
Okay.
You're not entitled to that if you've bought something from a shop. You know, you can't just go and buy something from a shop and say, oh, do you know what, I don't like it, I'm going to take it back. Some companies have their own policy where they'll allow you to do that, but that's not set out in the law. But it is set out in the law when it comes to internet-based companies or mail order companies. So your friend would be perfectly within her rights, as long as she notifies the company within 14 days that she thinks the rug is too big and she wants to return it. Okay. It's normally the case, however, that you have to pay the postage to send the product back.
Which you didn't have to, no.
Okay, that wasn't required by this company. No, that's good.
That's right. So they've sent a courier out within a few days to collect the rug. The courier's turned up, took the rug, wouldn't give her any paperwork, basically blamed it on COVID. He couldn't do anything. There was no paperwork to give. So she agreed to let him take the rug. 2 days later, he's turned up again to collect the same rug, same courier. Now, a couple of weeks ago, she's contacted the retailer and they said they haven't got the rug back from the courier company. And they would contact the courier company themselves. And the courier company are now saying they never collected the rug.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, they did, and then they came back a second time.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's been no refund. They've refused to give it any refund. So, yeah, we need to know where we stand and how we can get this money back.
Well, it's an interesting one, and I would say probably as a bit of advice for other people listening to the programme, it is probably a good idea, if you are having something collected by a courier company to be returned to a company, and if they won't provide you with any evidence that they've collected it, it's probably a good idea, in the same way that the courier companies take a photograph of the product across the threshold on your property now. It's probably a good idea for you to take a photograph of the courier taking away the product.
It would have been, yes.
So you've got something to be able to go back to the retailer with and say, well, look, this photograph was taken at 11:30 on, whatever date it was. Here's the guy taking away the rug. But of course, that's all wonderful in hindsight, isn't it? So I'd imagine your friend doesn't have any evidence at all.
No, nothing at all.
Has she got a Ring doorbell? Has she got CCTV?
No, she hasn't. No, she lives in a flat, so...
Okay, so there's no evidence at all that they took it?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess it's going to be her word against the courier's word, isn't it?
That's what we're thinking at the moment,
And who the retailer decides to believe. How much was the rug?
It was £170.
Okay. And have they sent out the new one?
The new one? Yep, we've got the new one, yep. She's had that delivered. That was literally about a week after, that the other one was collected. So, yeah.
Okay.
She's got that and happy with that one.
Let me go and speak to the retailer on your behalf. Let's see what they have to say, and we'll take it from there. And what I will be saying to them is, why are they not believing their customer? Why are they believing the courier company?
Absolutely, yes.
In this circumstance. Okay, leave it with me. I'll get a call in. I'll talk to you very soon. Hello, Sarah. I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Yep, okay. So I bought my kitten last July, called him Bagheera because he looks just like Bagheera from the Jungle Book. Had him, obviously, for the rest of the year, and at the beginning of this year, no problem. Suddenly developed a limp towards the end of March, so took him to the vet. They said it might be soft tissue damage, so gave me some pain relief and said, obviously, call them back if there was no improvement, which there wasn't. So took him back on the 28th of March, a few days later. So they decided to then do an X-ray. The X-ray didn't come back till, I think it was the 8th of April. And they said that there wasn't showing anything and to come back in. So I went back in the next day. They said they had to redo the X-rays as they weren't done properly the first time. So they did that. And then the day after that, I had the vet call me to say that unfortunately he thought it was cancer of the bone. And he thought that the leg needed to be amputated before the cancer spread to the rest of him. So we decided to go ahead. I mean, obviously he said that we could do the biopsies, but they would take too long. And by that time, like I say, it could have spread. So I decided to go ahead with the amputation. He had that done 4 days later. And then I think it was not until May, I think it wasn't until May, 4 weeks later, I got them the results because they sent a biopsy of the bone off to get tested. And then the vet rang me to say that it actually wasn't cancer at all.
Thank goodness for that.
It was just an infection.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, but it was just an infection, so it didn't actually need to be removed in the first place.
But I presume at the point that they made the decision to amputate the leg, they were concerned that it was cancer. In their professional opinion, they thought it would be cancer, and it was surely just a relief that it wasn't cancer.
It was a relief that he hasn't got it spread to the rest of his body. But I feel like more tests should have been done before deciding to take the leg off.
Right, and have you raised that with the vet? Have you said, when the vet said, oh, it's good news, we've looked at it, and in fact it wasn't cancer, it was an infection, did you say to the vet at that point, well, I'm not very happy that you've amputated his leg then?
Yeah, well, he didn't offer that news. He sort of said, oh, the good news is it's not cancer. And I said, right, he said it was just an infection, it looks like. So I said, right, okay, so does that mean it didn't need to come off then? And he was like, regrettably, yes.
Right.
It didn't need to come off. So obviously at that point, I sort of thought, I blamed myself a little bit and went, oh God, I wish I'd looked into this more. I wish I'd done more tests before I made that decision. But from what they said to me, he was like, it was high in the 90s chance that it was it was cancer, so I felt like I didn't really have an option and to go ahead with the amputation.
No, of course, and we would all do the same. All of us pet owners would do the same. I think what this depends on, really, is whether at the point that the vet was suggesting amputation, whether based on the X-ray, any vet would have come to the same kind of conclusion in terms of what they thought was going on. If you looked at the X-ray, if any vet looked at that X-ray, would they come to the same conclusion? Oh my God, it looks like this cat has got cancer, and therefore the sooner we remove this leg, the better to stop it spreading.
I don't know, because I haven't shown it to any other vet. I just think maybe why wasn't infection considered as a possibility as well?
What has the vet said when you've asked that question?
Well, I'm still waiting for a response from that. So I sent over a letter to the customer service about it, and I've still not heard back.
When did you send that letter?
17th of May.
Okay. And do they have, in terms of on their, as part of their complaints procedure, do they have a time frame that they say they will respond to complaints by?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I think what's it been, a couple of weeks now. So I did email again to say, have you got this case? Are you dealing with it? Can you just let me know that you've got it and it's being dealt with? And I still haven't heard anything back.
Nothing at all. That's not ideal, because they should have a complaints procedure, and they should certainly acknowledge your complaint and give you a time frame in terms of, okay, thank you for making the complaint. We're sorry to hear you've had the problem. Please give us some time while we investigate. It's very disappointing if you haven't had that.
Yeah, that's what you should do first, isn't it? Go back to them and ask for them to deal with it before you do anything else.
Well, absolutely. I think the first thing that I would do, and I'm a pet owner myself, so I'm trying to put myself in the position you're in now. My vet is excellent, and I've been with my vet for many, many years, and she and her colleagues are brilliant, and I trust them. And if my vet said to me, "We've done an X-ray, and regrettably, looking at the X-ray, it looks as if it's cancer, and therefore my advice to you would be to amputate the leg," then I would put my faith in the vet. If the vet then said, actually, we've removed the leg and we've now had a closer look, and in fact it's not cancer, it's an infection. However, from the X-ray, we were not to know that. It does look, and if you were to show this X-ray to any other vet, it looks as if the cat has got cancer, then I would say, well, okay, it's one of those things where it showed up and it looked like cancer. You did the right thing as the vet in removing the leg. It's a good thing that it wasn't cancer, but it's obviously a pity that we took the leg off, because once you've taken a cat's leg off, you can't put it back on again. But it all depends, though, on whether that vet came to the wrong conclusion having done the X-ray.
I see, right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were a vet, you would like to think that you would be trained to look for things, and you would then take the best course of action based on the evidence in front of you. Now, if that X-ray, can you see on the X-ray, can you see what looks like a cancerous growth or a lump of some kind?
He showed me the X-ray, but I don't really know what I'm looking for, to be honest. It's sort of like grey area or whatever, white area.
Right. So there is a white area on the leg.
He did, well, like I say, the X-ray, I don't really know. It just looks like a bone to me. I don't really know what I'm looking at for.
Okay. Do you have...
I think that was maybe a case that other vet would have to look at it and give their opinion.
I think so, and I think it probably is going to end up going that way, that you're going to end up having to get another opinion from a vet. Do you have medical insurance for your cat?
Yes, that's the other thing, is that the treatment that they've charged the insurance company comes just under £4,000. And I've sort of done some phoning around since then and told that it should be about half that. So I'm not sure why they've come to that figure.
Okay. Well, we've got some interesting things to take up with them. Have you spoken to your pet insurance company to I mean, I don't know what kind of cover you've got, but I just wonder whether your pet insurance has any kind of cover for you where you would be able to get a second opinion from a vet paid for by the policy as well. It might be worth exploring that.
All I know is they have settled the claim, but that's something that I've asked in my complaint, is if that can be withdrawn, or because I'm just thinking about my cat's condition, in the future, if there's going to be implications, am I going to be able to get it insured again?
Do you have the policy that you've got for him? Is it lifetime insurance or not?
It's an advanced plan for lifetime.
Lifetime. Okay. Well, that should be okay then. What lifetime insurance means that you just at the next renewal you just renew again, and it will cover anything on the cat. You have to be a bit careful. There are some limited policies where they will only cover a condition until the end of the policy year. And then at the end of the year, so for example, anything to do with cancer in this case would then be excluded from the end of the policy year. But you don't want a policy like that. You want a lifetime policy because obviously if your cat now develops cancer in a few years' time, you want the policy to still cover cancer and not to have excluded it quite wrongly because of this diagnosis from this particular vet.
Yeah.
I think what we need to do is a couple of things. I think I need to contact the vet and I need to ask the vet why they wrongly diagnosed your cat as having a tumour on... Sorry, is it a male cat or a female cat?
Male.
Male. I need to find out why they wrongly diagnosed that he had a tumour on his leg. And I think what we also need to do is we need to find out how you can get another vet to look at that X-ray and to provide you with some kind of written report as to whether they feel drawing the conclusion of cancer from that one X-ray is reasonable in the circumstances. I think that's the best way of proceeding from here. What I'm going to do... How is your cat in the meantime? I mean, obviously he's lost his leg now, but I mean, cats can be terribly resilient even with 3 legs. Is he okay?
Yeah, he has recovered well from it.
Yeah, but obviously you're still left feeling as if this vet hasn't done the right thing for you.
Well, it's just upsetting when you look at your cat now, when he didn't even need to have that done and he could have just had some medication.
Just out of interest, did you do your homework on the vet? Because there are good vets and there are dreadful vets out there. And you do have to do your research. As a pet owner myself, I know I've moved vets in the past because I had my cat at the time with a vet that was then purchased by some big company, and every time I went there it was different vets and they all seemed to just be out of medical school and then they'd disappear and there was no continuity and then the prices all started to go up and I thought, do you know what, I don't want this. So I moved. Did you do your homework about this vet first and make sure that they were good, really good reputation, happy customers, clients, they all respected the vet?
It's quite a well-known practice.
Okay.
I know that a couple of people near where I live use it, but I didn't physically go on Google and look for reviews or anything like that.
Okay. Good idea to do that.
I've only been using them for the past year because obviously the cats are very young, so...
Yeah. Well, it's just advice for other people listening to the programme. If you get a pet, don't just automatically enrol them with the local vet and assume that they must be a good vet because they've been around for years. Talk to other pet owners, find out what experiences they've had, look at the reviews for the vet, find out what people are saying, and then you'll make your decision. And also, request a copy of the pricing structure from the vets before you sign your animal up. Some vets, to be honest with you, are an absolute rip-off, particularly when they know insurance companies are paying. So you want to find out that they have a very clear and transparent pricing structure so you know what you're going to end up having to pay. And you want to make sure from other people that they are good vets, they care about the animals, and they're not just out there to try and make a fast buck. Okay?
Yeah, right, and to raise the awareness, to get a second opinion maybe if there's that sort of thing that comes up for anybody else.
Okay, leave it with me. Let me get a call in, find out what's going on with this particular vet, what they have to say about it, and we'll take it from there, okay? Now, Peter's son, his daughter-in-law and his granddaughter moved into a housing association property in December. He says it's a terrific house, but there is an issue.
The fence needed replacing. It was falling down. And, of course, over the Christmas period and that, we had some winds and rain and it blew the whole fence down. We called the housing association. They eventually sent a guy out. He okayed it and said, yeah, this definitely needs replacing. Now we've had a letter or an email from the housing association saying it's not their responsibility and we've got to pay for it. When I spoke to them the other day, the lady was quite rude to me, just saying, check your terms and conditions. That's all she would say. But I did say to her, why should they be expected to buy a new fence when it was already in disrepair? And my worst concern is that she actually backs onto a train track, and I've got a 2-year-old granddaughter, and I'd hate for her to fall down the bank and end up, against a metal fence near a train track. And also the next door neighbour, she has a friend round with a dirty great husky dog, and it bounds straight into their garden, and if my little girl's out there, it rolls all over the place.
Well, I've been off to have a word with the Housing Association on Peter's behalf. What's the latest on the case? Let's find out, because Peter's back on the JVS show. Hello, Peter.
Morning.
Good morning. So, as you are aware, it is the case that when you are a housing association tenant, or indeed some of the newer council tenants, you need to see what your tenancy agreement provides for in terms of maintenance and repairs. It is no longer the case. It used to be the case if you're a council tenant, the council was responsible for complete upkeep of your house and the maintenance. That's not the case now. Very often social housing, they provide you with the property, but you are responsible for most, if not all, of the maintenance that is required on that property. So you do need to make sure that you're aware of what the tenancy states from the outset. When I spoke to the Housing Association, they are sanctuary housing. They said, while it is clear in our tenancy agreement that it is a tenant's responsibility to maintain dividing fences between properties, we acknowledge we may have caused confusion in this case and will therefore arrange for the damaged fence panels to be replaced. We're in contact with the family to agree a suitable date for this work to be done. Well, that all sounded good. And when I spoke to you, you said that you'd had a visit, or your son and daughter-in-law had a visit, and a surveyor had come round, had a look at it and said, yeah, that's fine. We've got to get all the fence panels ordered and we'll be round to sort it. However, when I spoke to you last week, you were starting to get a bit grumpy over this because you said that your son and daughter-in-law had 3 visits from 3 separate surveyors who all came round and took the same photos and said the same thing, but nothing actually was happening. And you wanted to know when actually the fence panels were going to be replaced. Well, I went back to Sanctuary Housing and asked that question, said, look, what's going on here? They came back, and they've come back a few times with subsequent responses. They say the last update we had was that the work had been booked in for the 7th of June, and the tenant had been called to confirm this. We are looking to bring this forward if we can, so we will chase this up with any further updates. Well, I had a further response from them first thing this morning, Peter, and came back and said
last night.
Right, okay, because they say, we appreciate your deadline for this was 11 o'clock this morning, because I told them I was going to be chatting to you this morning at 11 o'clock. However, we wanted to advise that we have asked the tenant if we can actually attend tomorrow to complete the works ahead of the agreed date of the 7th. So it looks like they've managed to find a slot sooner than the 7th. So is that what you've heard?
No, they actually contacted us yesterday afternoon, saying they'll be here today.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Left hand might not know right hand's doing yet. We don't know.
Well, or it may well have been that this email. Hang on a second. Let me just make sure, because it may well be that I only saw
it yesterday afternoon or something.
Yeah. Do you know what? To be fair, they sent it to me. It came in to me at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
That's it.
I only saw it this morning. But so they're coming today.
Yeah, well, that's what they said, because my daughter-in-law rang me yesterday afternoon, and she said, I don't know what Jonathan has said to them, but they've jumped through hoops again. So hopefully what you said to them on Friday has prompted them to get it done and get it sorted.
Good.
So
Well, let's hope it...
I shall phone yourselves or Laura tomorrow and confirm whether it's been done or not.
Let's just hope it all pays off, and let's hope that they manage to get all of the parts, because we have been told previously there are some issues with fencing. I think actually the problem, from what I'm told, Peter, it's not so much with the fence panels, because you were saying that you know of a place locally to you. It's got loads of fence panels. I gather the fence panels, that's not the problem. It's actually the concrete posts and the concrete, whatever they're called, the boards that go at the bottom.
The gravel boards that go along
the gravel
the
boards, yeah. I think there's a bit of they can be quite difficult to get hold of at the moment. So
yeah, I think they're only going to put wooden ones in, but I might be surprised with concrete. I never know.
Oh, well,
I'd rather concrete, because if a panel goes wrong, you just slot it out and slot a new one in.
That is exactly the benefit of concrete posts and gravel boards. But there we go. Well, look, let's hope then. So they're coming today.
Supposedly coming today. I can't get hold of my daughter-in-law at the moment, because she's a primary school, preschool teacher, so she's at work at the moment. But she's made arrangements for them to gain access.
Okay, fine.
Well, so I will know this afternoon.
Okay.
And I will drop an email to yourself and that this evening.
Well, I tell you what, let's just pencil in a chat tomorrow now, and let's find out how things go this afternoon when we talk tomorrow.
I'd love to see everyone hear about your success. You've done an amazing job for me. Thank you.
Well, let's just not get too excited yet. Let's wait. When the fence panels are up, then we can get excited. But at the moment, let's just be calm and see what happens. Yeah. All right, listen, I'm going to give Sanctuary Housing this. Just a little bit of honkage just to act as encouragement, and I'll speak to you tomorrow, and fingers crossed everything will be sorted out, okay?
All right, lovely. Thank you very much.
Do you remember Joanna? Joanna was telling me that in November of last year, she decided to treat herself to a very expensive bit of kit after viewing the night sky at a friend's house in Spain. Well, she spent £700 on a brand new telescope.
One of my friends showed us with like a bird watching scope a couple of planets. There's a Jupiter, there's Saturn. I was absolutely smitten. I just couldn't believe it. I could just see it. So when I got back from a holiday, I decided to go inquire about the telescope. I found a specialist shop, and I chose the telescope that was recommended by the salesman. The problem started with day one. I paid and collected the telescope. I brought it home. I opened the box, and it's not the telescope that I ordered. And then they said to me, don't worry, it's a very good telescope. See how you go with it. And then if you don't like it, then we will exchange for the one you ordered.
Well, Joanna says she didn't get on with it. She just couldn't get it to work properly. And Joanna said she'd been repeatedly asking for help from the retailer, who didn't seem to want to know. Well, I promised her I would contact the company. And to be honest with you, and to be honest with Joanna, I was expecting a nightmare. I thought, oh, God, it's going to be one of those companies where they never answer the phone, and when you get through to them, they're of absolutely no help whatsoever. But I have to be honest, in terms of my experience of dealing with them, it's been quite the opposite. And I said to Joanna, this is such a strange case, because when I talk to the company, I wonder whether I've got the wrong company. And when I talk to Joanna, I'm even more confused. Joanna's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Joanna.
Hello, JVS.
Hello, Joanna. Right, so the company said, look, they said as far as we were concerned, yes, she did indeed order a telescope from us. We explained at the point of sale that we were having a nightmare getting certain telescopes because most of our stock comes from China. Most telescopes are made in China now. The first one that she chose was really expensive, and she said she wanted a cheaper one. The one that she initially wanted, he said we just couldn't get that in because they didn't have any stock of it. So we explained that at the time, he said. I know you disagree with all that, but he said we explained it at the time, and we agreed that we would order the closest one to that, which was pretty much the same. The only difference was over this one didn't come with what's called a handset. I think you link it to a computer rather than viewing things through the handset. He said that as far as he was concerned, you were aware of that, you were happy with it, and everything was going to plan. He said that you were given the invoice that shows the telescope that he'd ordered for you, However, when you came in to collect it, Joanna then said that wasn't the one that she wanted. And he said, at that point, we said to Joanna, well, look, you can either not have it, in which case we'll just sell it back to someone else, or you can try it and see how you get on with it. And apparently you said, well, okay, well, I really want one, so I'll take it away. He said that you then came back and said you were struggling to operate it. He said, we've given her so much advice. We've been trying to help her. We even ended up providing her with a free handset worth £100 that gave her exactly everything that she was later saying she'd ordered in the first place, and still she wasn't happy with it. He said, we then told her that if she'd like to bring it back to us, as long as it was in good condition, we'd give her her money back. But she just keeps demanding a refund without bringing the telescope into us. Now, you, of course, have a very different version of that, and you say that's not how it was at all. You were trying to get hold of them to ask for advice. No one was answering the phone. The shop did say that obviously during the lockdown, to be fair, their telephone lines may not have been answered quite as promptly as they would have done if the shop was open. But he said, look, the offer still stands. We're happy to show Joanna how it works if she wants to bring it into us, and we can show her how it works. Alternatively, if she brings it back, as long as it comes back in good condition, we sell it to someone else and we'll give her a refund. Well, when I put that to you, you said, that's all I've wanted all along. I just want to be able to return it and get my money back. So I left it with you to arrange to take the telescope back in for the chap in the shop to look at. Have you now done that? Have you had a conversation?
Yes. I rang them a few times, no answer. But I sent them an email and they have replied and confirmed that next Monday at 2:30 p.m., that's the day that we have. I'm going to bring the telescope in a box to the shop. They're going to have a look, and hopefully we finish the matter.
Yes. And just so we're all clear, let me just read the last paragraph from the shop's email to me when they said, we would like to reconfirm we are happy to buy the telescope back for the full invoice value as long as it has been taken reasonable care of. For example, we would expect it to be returned complete with all of the original parts and accessories, to be complete with the original box and instructions, and to be free of damage. We obviously expect some signs of use, and we don't intend to be unreasonable, but to be clear, if it did come back with missing items or had significant scuffs and scrapes, we would want to reserve the right to consider making a reasonable reduction to account for this. So that's them putting their cards on the table and making it very clear that as long as everything comes back in perfect working order and it's not been damaged in any way and it's not got bits missing, they'll give you all of your money back. And I know from our last conversation, Joanna, you confirmed to me that it is in perfect condition. There's not a mark on it.
Yes, it is. In perfect condition.
And you've got the box and everything. So as far as I'm concerned, that hopefully will then be an end to it. And just out of interest, is that your love affair with the stars over? Or will you revisit the idea of getting a telescope in the future?
I will get a new telescope in the future, but I will go to a different kind of a shop. I'm sorry that I've had such a bad experience with this one, but I just put a line into it and I find another professional shop.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, sometimes things just don't work out. As I say, I do still find myself scratching my head a bit over this, because certainly the way the shop is set up, it's husband and wife who run the shop. They've run it for many, many years. If you look at the reviews on the internet, people very much rely on them for expertise and advice, and they know about telescopes and all that kind of stuff. And yet from the description you give me, it's as if we're talking about a completely different company. So it's a shame that it hasn't worked out in this particular experience, but let's just hope that you're able to get all of your money back and move on. I don't see any reason, based on what you've told me and based on what the company have said, I don't see any reason why that won't happen very shortly. Can you please keep me in the loop? Let's talk next week, and fingers crossed we'll be able to conclude this story.
Great. Yes, and no problem to keep you in the loop. Yeah, keep you
Lovely.
updated.
OK, Joanna, we'll talk next week. All the very best for the 7th. Now, Amy came to my programme after she purchased an exercise bike using an online voucher company. But when it arrived, well, she was very disappointed.
The bike arrived in good time. That was fine. Put the bike together and it was absolutely not fit for purpose at all. So basically the bike pedals didn't actually work. So when you turn them, the wheel didn't turn. There were bits missing. There was bits that were bent. The seat, the handlebars were all quite loose. Even when sort of completely tightened, it was just really poor condition, really, and was obviously very unhappy with that.
Well, understandably, she's not at all happy. She tried to contact the retailer. She tried to contact the voucher company. She was told by the retailer that she could return it, but she'd have to pay £40 to do so. Well, why should she have to pay money to send back faulty goods? Completely and utterly unacceptable. I've been off to have a word with both the retailer and the voucher company. Let's find out how we got on, because Amy's back on the JVS show. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm a bit frustrated, though, to be honest, because you ordered this through Woucher.
Yes, I did.
Woucher, I'm well aware, have received my email, and Woucher have not provided any response for the programme whatsoever. So when given an opportunity to provide a response for the programme today, they don't appear to have done so. The retailer, a company called Bing Bang Bosch, have provided a response that came through this morning. Let's see what they're offering. They say, we offer a 14-day no quibble money-back guarantee on all items. This means if the customer does not wish to keep the item and wants it returned, we accept the return and the customer is able to forward carriage the goods back to us. Typically, most customers are unable to send the item back themselves because it is not a standard parcel size or weight. So we offer to arrange the collection on behalf of the customer. The customer in this case, it appears, had a damaged plastic sleeve. We offered to replace the part, but the customer declined. The customer service rep who was dealing with this had categorised this case as a 14-day money-back case. This was why he asked the customer to either send the item back, or if they wanted us to collect it, the charge would be £40. However, after taking a closer look, this is not a 14-day money-back case, it is a damaged item case. We offered a new replacement, but the customer declined. We are happy to accept the return and would like to ask the customer to send images of the item packed away, ready for collection, along with a confirmation of their full address and telephone number. We can try and get the goods uplifted for Friday if the email is received today. And that is their response.
Yeah, I did actually receive an email from Woucher this morning as well.
From
saying
Woucher?
That they've received a complaint, received my complaint, and that they would also try and arrange collection of the bike, which has left me slightly confused as to actually who now to speak to in terms of getting that collected.
Well, I would love to be able to clear that confusion up with a nice, concise response from Woucher explaining their position. As I say, I haven't received anything from Woucher.
Yeah.
However, if Woucher would like to provide a response for inclusion in the programme, so they can explain why you've been left so disappointed having purchased this exercise bike through their scheme, I'd be very happy to read out their statement. And if they would like to email, they can do so. They'll have my email address from my initial email to them last week.
Yeah.
Regarding the bike, let's just look at the positive for a start. It would appear we now have an acceptance that they should never have been saying to you that you needed to pay £40 to send it back. They seem to recognise, and they're quite right to recognise this, because it is unacceptable to ever tell a customer that to return faulty goods they have to pay to do so. That's not acceptable. It may well be acceptable under the consumer contracts regulations if a customer changes their mind for whatever reason, if they decide they just don't like the product it may well be perfectly possible for the company to then charge you for sending it back if they have made it clear at the point of sale on their website, for example, or in their mail order catalogue. However, with faulty goods, it's not the case. And they should never have said to you that you needed to pay £40. But they seem to recognise that was a mistake now. They are saying they are prepared to come and pick it up. They just need this email confirming the address to pick it up from, the telephone number, and also with images of the item packed away and ready for collection. Is that what... Have they explained that to you, or is that the first you've heard of that?
No, I got copied into that email actually this morning. So I have actually got those images ready and prepared. The bike's in its box, ready to go.
Good.
My only concern was from that email, there was no, I mean, it suggested that they would cover that cost, but it wasn't sort of explicit in the fact that it said that cost would be covered. And my worry would be kind of whether they were to take that off the reduction, when they actually process the refund.
They better not.
No, I know.
I mean, there will be big trouble if that happens. That is completely and utterly unacceptable. If what you've told me is correct, that this exercise bike that was sent out to you was, I mean, they're talking about there being a damaged plastic sleeve.
No,
your description was much worse than that.
I've actually heard of that, and they received the photos, the video that I sent to them when requested originally. There was nothing about a damaged plastic sleeve in that. It was everything else, but not actually that aspect. So that is confusing.
Fine. Well, look. Let me just make it very clear to this retailer, Bing Bang Bosch. If they come and collect the bike and then decide to take £40 off the refund that they give you, then Amy will sue you. It's very simple. You are not going to accept a reduction of £40 off the returns amount that you are due because this product is faulty, and therefore you're entitled to full refund. So, Bing Bang Bosch, make sure that Amy receives a full refund of every penny she's paid. And I would hope that there will be a very forthright apology for the fact that you've been left in this predicament and it became necessary for you to involve my programme before they would even agree to come and do this for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Very frustrating.
Well, it is extremely frustrating.
And
it's frustrating for me as well that I can't include a response from Woucher. Woucher has a press office. They are aware of the fact that we're covering this story on the programme, and I'm extremely disappointed that I cannot provide a response from them in this programme. However, as I say, I'm very open to that changing if they would like to provide a response. But let's leave it there, Amy. Can you please keep me in the loop? And fingers crossed they will come and collect the bike on Friday.
Yeah, I'll get that email sent across straight away. And
I want to make this quite clear as well to Bing Bang Bosch. I will stay across this case. I will not conclude this case until Amy confirms she has received every last penny back. So the sooner that's done, the sooner I go away and this story goes away from my programme. Okay? Right, well, I think we've made that very clear. Amy, I'll talk to you, fingers crossed, on, well, let's say Monday of next week, and you'll be able to report that the bike's gone, you've got your money back.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much.
Okay, it's
Appreciate all your help.
I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Of course, yes. So back a month or so ago when Portugal came on the green list for travel, my partner decided to book us a last-minute holiday, which we did and all was well. Now, we went to a high street pharmacist to book the Fit to Fly COVID PCR test you have to have 72 hours before you go. Okay, and paid £99 each for the test. So my partner went at 2 p.m. on Thursday last week. I went at 4 p.m.
Now, hang on a second. Sorry to interrupt you. I sense that timing and data are all going to be very important.
Because it has to be within 72 hours of your flight departure.
72 hours. Okay, and you were due to go on, did you say last Tuesday?
We were flying on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock.
This last Sunday gone?
Okay, Sunday just gone.
So are you in Portugal now?
I'm in Portugal now, yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, so Sunday you were jetting off at what time?
9 o'clock.
In the morning?
In the morning, yes.
Okay, and you were due to go and have the PCR test on which day last week?
So my partner, Aisha, took hers at 2 p.m. on Thursday.
Oh, it's Thursday, okay. 2 p.m,
okay,
yeah.
Which takes us within the 3-day, the 3-day window that we have. Mine was at 4 p.m.
Yeah, £99 each.
£99 each. Okay.
Yep.
Now, mine, no problem at all. It was back by lunchtime on Friday, so no quibbles with myself. But my partner's didn't come through, and we were told when we booked it that if 48 hours have passed and we have had no response, we should phone customer service. Okay, which my partner did, and she phoned them 4 times. She was holding for 30 minutes all the way through and not really getting anywhere. And right at the finish at 5 o'clock on Saturday, of course, we're now flying the following morning. We still had nothing through, and the last thing that we were told was the only way of contacting the lab that was doing the actual test with the swabs that had been taken in the shop, okay, was by email and phone, and they were not taking any calls or responding to emails.
Oh, how
now, that's
stressful.
from a huge company, okay? We're not talking a little backstreet pharmacist, okay? So we were told the only thing we could do was to keep checking emails. Now, I wasn't happy with that, so I managed to get online and found at the very last minute that there was a company in Watford that were offering an emergency test, okay, which is £199 with a result back in 4 hours. Now, if you can imagine, it's now 4 o'clock on Saturday. This company closes at 6:30, so we had to rush from Hitchin, where my partner lives, all the way down to Watford, find a place. And thankfully, we got it all. We got there with a few minutes to spare, and we managed to do it. But this sort of thing really shouldn't. It really shouldn't happen.
What are you looking for? I mean, obviously, the first company, it would appear, let you down very badly. Have they responded to you, and have they apologised and offered to cover the costs that you've incurred as a result of this?
Okay, so the final phone call on the Saturday, they offered to reimburse my partner's £99. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's not really good enough, is it? Because it's ended up costing you considerably more because of them falling short.
That's correct, yes. So we had to pay out £199, and you can imagine the mood we were both in by that time because, we honestly thought we were going to lose the holiday.
Yes, I bet.
So no, we were dead lucky. The company in Watford was, it was great. We went down there, we were in and out, and we got the result through. So we've got £199 extra cost we didn't think we'd have. Okay, the original company did refund the $99, but they actually said to us, the last conversation was, don't worry, just keep checking your emails. Now, as of this morning, it's still not showing a result. So had we have listened to this company, we would have lost the holiday, and the holiday cost us £1,800.
As far as I'm concerned, the £99 that the company had taken from you for your partner's test is just not sufficient because their mistake, their issue, whatever went wrong in terms of them not providing your partner with her test result, has ended up costing you £199.
That's
so,
correct.
As far as I'm concerned, they owe you £199, not £99. Actually, they probably owe you a bit more because you then incurred travel costs going all the way from Hitchin to Watford and back on Saturday afternoon as an emergency case. So I would suggest that they should look at the £199 refund as being getting away with it, really, because you've incurred greater costs than that.
Which we had no choice to do, and we were really lucky. But the biggest thing that really worries me with this, the £199 is, it's not an absolute fortune. It's very annoying, and I think we should pay it. But we come into holiday season, and there's going to be families, Jonathan, that are taking their kids away. Yeah. They've all got to have these PCR tests, and if they don't get their their systems working properly, there's going to be a lot of people with sport holidays.
Yeah,
and that's really the
this is
issue,
one of the
isn't it?
things that worries me about travelling this year. You know, I'm worried about it because until you've got that test result, you're going to be stressed, worrying. Am I going to get it in time? Is something going to go wrong? Are they going to suddenly say, "Oh, sorry, but the test was invalid," or they lose my result? And until you've actually got that result to be able to show at the airport, you know that you, in theory, may not be able to go on the holiday.
Well, the other thing as well that could be worrying is that nobody knows really, or not. People don't all know if they're going to test positive anyway. So, it's unlucky that you could book a holiday a couple of months in advance, go for your test 3 days beforehand, and if a positive test comes back, you're not going to be given a refund by your travel agent or your
insurance company
or hotels or whatever else.
Yeah. What have you?
Lucky. We've both been double jabbed, so the chances are that we knew we were okay. So it wasn't so much of an issue. But as time goes on, it's going to be younger families that that may have the problems.
Yes, quite. I'd be more than happy to contact the company on your behalf and ask them why their offer to you seems completely and utterly, as far as I'm concerned, unsatisfactory. Doesn't cover the costs that you've incurred as a result of this. What have you got to do then, just out of interest, in order to get back into the UK from Portugal? Have you now got to have a test at a pharmacy in Portugal before you come back?
Yes, we've got to have one. We've got to have one within 48 hours, I think, or within 48 hours of coming back, which is a fit to fly test again, which actually over here is €20. So somebody in the UK is profiteering, but that's another story. And then when we get back to the UK, I've then got to take another test, which, funny enough, I have booked with the same company. And that keeps us within the law. It's got to be within 2 days of coming home, and that was £59.
Is that £59 each for the two of you?
£59 each.
And that's with the same company that you've had the first problem with?
I booked mine with the same company. My partner refused to. She's booked it with somebody else.
Oh, right, okay.
But it's not so, that side, Jonathan, that's not the worrying side, because by that time we're in the UK anyway. All you need to do is prove before you land on UK soil that you've actually booked a test.
Yeah, no, I accept that. I was just...
2 weeks, it's not an issue, really.
No, I was just trying to think to myself, would it be easier to argue that the company should provide your tests when you come back for free to top up the cost to you, but if your partner has gone with a different company, then £59 wouldn't be enough anyway. So let me go and have a word with them, see what I can do for you. I'm going to pass you back to the team. We'll get some detail and we'll go and have a word. Okay.
Thanks very much indeed, Jonathan.
Okay. Have a nice rest of your holiday. Is the weather nice?
It's beautiful. 25 degrees, and I can see the sea from the hotel window. It's lovely.
Oh. Well, I hate to rub it in, but I'll just check the weather forecast here. I'm looking through my window to the world. Do you know what the weather forecast is here in Dunstable today, Jonathan?
I think it's thunderstorms later on this evening, isn't it, if I remember rightly?
You reckon? I'm looking at 25 degrees in glorious sunshine at the moment, but there we go. Enjoy Portugal. Thank you, Jonathan, very much indeed. I'll see what I can do. Right, it's the JVS show. It's BBC Three Counties Radio. Do you remember Joanne? Joanne came to me. She was telling me that she had a couple of problems that were all linked to a £15,000 kitchen that she had put in a couple of days before Christmas. The issues began with the worktop.
It's meant to be very durable. It's meant to take any stain, and that's why we ordered it for that purpose. But as soon as we put the spotlights on, when it was night time, we could see it was covered in very fine scratches. They did come out. They did say, yes, something needs doing with it. But then I haven't heard anything since. The other problem is the machine broke down, washing machine.
A washing machine, right.
That was fitted by the same company at the same time, but it's kept stopping mid-cycle. I rang them, they sent an engineer out, and they said, look, I think the easiest thing to do is we'll get you a new machine put in. So I said, that's lovely. Haven't heard a thing since.
Well, this is all very frustrating, and I promised Joanne I would contact the company and see what I could do about it, and I have done just that. Joanne's back on the JVS show. Hello, Joanne.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Joanne. Now, this company, I've had quite a few dealings with them recently, and they have started doing something that is, it's a bit frustrating from my perspective, but I can't really kick up too much of a stink because as long as they resolve the problem, that's all they really have to do. The issue seems to be that what they do is they don't respond to me. After they receive my email, they get straight in touch with the customer and try and resolve the issue. And then they send me an email a few days later saying, we're not going to comment to you, but we are getting this resolved with our customer. So it's frustrating from my perspective because I'm then not kept in the loop by the retailer. However, I don't mind as long as they actually do what they're supposed to do, and that's to get it fixed. So I did the same with you. I contacted them on your behalf. I explained the situation, and I gather they got straight in touch with you or fairly shortly afterwards. What's the latest that you've heard?
So a lady rang me yesterday from the company. I felt it was a bit more of a hopeful conversation. She's given me her private mobile number, for instance, and she's ordered a replacement new washing machine to be delivered on Saturday.
Right.
It won't be fitted then, and the old one won't be taken away. We've got to have a separate appointment still to be booked for that. And also she asked me to take some more photos of the scratches on the worktop, which she was then going to forward on to the worktop company.
Right.
So I'm not quite there yet, but I feel it was a bit more hopeful than the number I normally ring and they say, we'll call you back, and then nobody calls.
And this lady who's given you her own personal mobile for any other problems, and that does sound like quite a good development. Is she senior at the company? Does she have a position of seniority where she has the power to be able to resolve these things?
Yes, I think she said that she was the director's assistant.
Perfect. Well, that you don't get much better than. Well,
it was a definite more senior role, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess the only person to hire would be the director, him or herself. So, as long as you've got access to the director's assistant, well, hopefully that means that it's going to be resolved. And the one thing I would say is, this company know that I don't go away until things are sorted.
Lovely.
So, and I'm quite sure they are, at the moment, based on the number of times I've had to make contact with them in the last few months, I'm sure they are sick to the back teeth of the sound of my name or one of my emails popping up. So I'm quite sure they would like to get this sorted with you as quickly as possible so they don't have me on their back anymore.
Well, I thought they would also be quite sick of me, but they're not. So let's hope you've got more substance with them.
Well, maybe you're not quite as annoying as I am. Oh, what a frustration. I mean, this is frustrating because when you get a new kitchen, it should be such a nice experience. And I would imagine this whole experience has just taken the shine off it, really.
Totally. And it's just so stressful when you're trying to work. I'm just a little local dog walker in Harpenden. I'm going around about my business and I'm having to try and take and receive phone calls while I'm out. It's just not ideal. I've tried it, email, phone call, any way I can, and you just don't get any response.
Right. Well, you have now, and you've got a hotline to the director's assistant, it would appear, which is great. So let's just hope that that assistant gets this all resolved. Can you please keep me in the loop? If I do get anything back from them, as I say, they don't seem very keen on providing anything on the record, as it were, for the programme. But I can't, as long as they're resolving the matter for the customer, then I'm not going to kick off too much about the fact that they're not providing me with anything. But if that changes, then, they are going to make themselves a bit of a problem. So, can you please keep me in the loop, Joanne? If you need me to go and do any more chasing from my end, I'm happy to do that for you.
I will. Thank you so much for all your help.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure, and I have a feeling we will get there in the end.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hi, Kevin. I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
We were sending a parcel to India, and we've sent it off. We sent it off in March.
Can I ask why?
Yeah, we were sending to our granddaughter in India, She's 2 years old. So
okay, and she lives in India.
Yes, yeah. We were sending clothes. So the clothes were below the duty level where you can sometimes have to pay duty if you're sending things through, but it was below that level.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was for her birthday, actually. It was going to be for her birthday.
24th of May is your granddaughter's birthday, and you sent off the clothes when?
We sent them at middle of March, I think it was. Was it the 19th of March, I think it was.
So in plenty of time?
Yes. Right. Yeah, it's supposed to take about a week to get there. In fact, they say if it doesn't reach within the week, to contact them, to contact the delivery company.
And did you use a delivery method that had insurance and everything else should the item go missing? Because obviously it's going on quite a journey to get to India, isn't it?
That's right, it is, yeah. Yeah, we put insurance on the delivery, and we selected the delivery company because it was a sort of well-known delivery company, so we thought, as far as we could tell, that they were a sort of company that should be trustworthy, shall we say.
Right. Had you used them before to send stuff there?
Not that particular company, no. Okay.
Just out of interest, why did you not use a company that you'd used previously and I presume had a good experience with?
I forget, to be honest. We haven't sent much before, to be honest. We've only sent one parcel before, I think.
Okay. Right. So you sent all this stuff off. Am I presuming the reason you're on my programme today is that item has never arrived?
That's correct, yes, yeah.
Where is it?
Well, we contacted the delivery company because we knew that it hadn't been received in India. Our son had in India. He hadn't received it. We were contacting him and, saying that, has he had it? So within the week, because it says contact us within the week if it's not got there, we sent an email off. That was ignored. The communication back and forward has been very sporadic and not good with the company. But they told us that the parcel was in Delhi and that it was with customs and it was awaiting duty payment. But when we're speaking to our son over in India, and he's telling us that all he's had nothing about duty payment being needed or anything. None of us had any figure given to us as to what the duty payment was or anything, because he was being told that he needed proof of address and also proof of ID, and also did he have an import license? So we're kind of thinking, well, they talked about an import license. We're sending some clothes to the girl. It's nothing to do with import license or anything. So we were kind of thinking, is this really with customs or not? So it didn't turn up.
And what's the delivery company had to say?
They've been very aggressive in a way. They haven't really been helpful at all. They've basically saying that it's with customs when they're speaking to me, but obviously that's completely different to what they're telling our son over in India. The two stories are not matching up with each other.
Right, but isn't this very straightforward? The item has not arrived with the recipient, therefore they have failed in their duty of care to you and in fulfilling the contract. They have not delivered the item to the recipient that you sent.
Yes. Well, what they're actually, in addition to what I'm saying, is they've actually telling us that it had gone to customs, but they've got no proof of that. I said, can you prove that? That's not telling me that that's showing that customs have had it. Customs have given no receipt for it. I said, they've in India, it was nothing to do about duty. I said, we've had no request either in England or in India for any duty to be paid. But in India, they've been getting something completely different from the delivery company. It's the delivery company who are talking to them, not customs. And they've been, like I say, they've been asked for ID proof, address proof, and have he got an import licence?
What's the value of the clothes?
£80, approximately £80.
And how much did you pay for the sending cost?
£80, just under 78 or £79. We've got the exact price.
You paid £78 to send the parcel?
Yes.
Blimey.
Yeah, it's expensive to send to India. Yes, yeah.
It's really expensive.
Yeah. It was what weight was it? It was 12 kilos. 5 kilos. 5 kilos. So not a big parcel by any means.
5 kilos.
They actually give you a box to fit it into that box.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to lay my cards out on the table. I've had a number of cases recently where items have been sent to other countries abroad. The success rate on getting those things sorted is not very high at the moment. I think, as far as I'm concerned, what I need to do is to say to them, look, if they haven't managed to fulfil this for whatever reason, just give you the £80 back. I mean, if you're telling me that you were insured for that, surely it's a case of just making a claim on that. What, just out of interest, why did you not say to you say it's your son who lives in India, why did you not just say to your son, go and buy her something from us and we'll pay you?
You see, I think it was really that we just really wanted to send something across from England, really, because we get different quality of stuff, and it's personal. It's personal then if it's coming from us.
Right, I see. Okay. Well, look, I mean, the fact is, if you've sent the stuff and you've spent loads of money in sending it, it should have arrived. So let me go and have a word with this company and try and find out what's going on. What I'll do, I'll pass you back to the team. We'll get some detail and I'll call them this afternoon, okay? Do you remember Brenda? Brenda came to me. She was telling me that she's lived in her council-owned property for 47 years. On March the 9th, she reported a leak in the ceiling of her spare bedroom. It's a flat roof over this bedroom. But she said this leak was getting worse and worse and worse.
The rain absolutely poured through.
Oh, no.
And the bedroom was like a swimming pool. All they did last night when I called them out was leave me a big bucket, and it was pouring through. I was in tears. I didn't know what to do. My daughter was here and she was emptying it. This is 1 o'clock in the morning. Then I went in there last night to empty the bucket, and it was so full. And bear in mind that a whole roof was leaking by then. And there's so much water in there that I got a hold of this bucket and I slipped on the water, fell, and I've now hurt my hip and my back. And all the water went all over me. They just say, oh, it's a bigger job than what we thought, so we're going to put in for some quotes. So I've heard about these quotes for the last 6 weeks.
Well, Brenda was just at her wit's end. She didn't know what to do to try and get this sorted out. I promised her I would contact the company. I mean, we all understand that if we go back to March time, we all understand that with the virus, it may well have been that there were delays in terms of getting contractors out to do jobs like this. But my point has always been with the council, surely what they should have done is at least ensure the roof was watertight, and to put proper tarpaulins over to stop the rain coming through. I mean, the situation Brenda was living in was absolutely awful. Literally water flooding through the ceiling. How stressful. Well, I contacted the council on Brenda's behalf. She's back on the JVS now. Hello, Brenda.
Hi.
Hello, Brenda. Now, to be fair, the council was excellent when I went to speak to them. They said, we have been in contact with Brenda and her family to apologise for the situation and to update her on the work to replace her roof, which is due to start on Thursday the 6th of May. Scaffolding was erected on the 13th of April 2021 and was safety checked on the 4th of May in anticipation of the work starting. Temporary repairs were made as a matter of urgency following the emergency call-out on the 9th of March 2021, with a tarpaulin cover fitted as a make-safe on the 10th of March 2021, while we arranged for a survey and replacement of the flat roof, fascia, soffits and gutters. Once this work has been completed, we will replace her ceiling and redecorate the affected room. We always try to ensure our tenants receive a high-quality service. We deal with around 25,000 repairs a year, and on this occasion, unfortunately, we have fallen below our usual standards. As a result of Brenda's case, we are now reviewing our procedures for roof replacements and repairs, which involve liaising with different contractors to see how we can improve them and make sure our tenants are kept better informed throughout the entire process, as well as being made fully aware of what the work will involve at the beginning, so they know what to expect when a complex repair such as this is required. So there seemed to be an admission that the system hadn't worked properly with your roof. Well, I mean, that was blatantly obvious, wasn't it, Brenda, to be honest? The fact that there was water flooding in through the ceiling was a classic example of that. But to be fair, when I then spoke to you, you said, yep, things have started happening. They're coming out to do the work. They had made all kinds of assurances to you that after they'd done the roof, they were then going to come and do the ceiling inside. They were going to do any replastering, any work, new carpets. It was all going to be sorted for you, and you were certainly feeling much, much happier. Now, that was a couple of weeks ago. What's the latest since then, Brenda? Is everything sorted?
It is. Yesterday I had all new carpets put down in the hall, landing and stairs and the room, and it's decorated, new ceiling, insulation, new roof. It's lovely. Wow. And it's all completed, and it's thank you so much for all what you've done for me.
Water is exceptionally damaging, and I mean, I myself, I've had leaks before, and it's quite frightening, isn't it, really? Because when water is coming through, particularly coming through a ceiling, and you just don't know what to do about it. You know, you're trying to put buckets underneath it, you're trying to stop it. But at the same time, you can see the immense damage that water is causing in a very short space of time. It really is, it's a very unpleasant experience. So I know exactly how you felt. Looking at that damage the water was doing to your property, and it probably felt, am I right in saying it probably felt at the time as if no amount of repairs would ever put it right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But obviously they have now managed to do everything, and I bet
It's
now
beautiful.
if they've done it properly, the good thing is now you're probably hard pressed to see where the problem ever came in the first place.
Well, absolutely, yes. It's gorgeous now. You know, they've redecorated and, you know, new ceiling. They put lighting in it, you know, new carpets.
Great.
It's absolutely lovely, yes.
Well, that's super. And I will obviously thank the council. It's Welwyn Hatfield Council that have sorted it out. We will obviously thank them, and I'll give them the horn. And you just now get on and enjoy your property. And it looks as if we've got lovely weather on the way now for the foreseeable future, which is great. No rain to have to worry about. But even if there is rain, you won't be worrying about it coming in through your ceiling again, will you?
No, I won't. No, it's wonderful.
Super. What a great feeling. Well, listen, let's leave it there. I will thank Welwyn Hatfield Council. Brenda, if you have any other problems, you know where I am. Now, Susan wanted a new shed. She found one online for just under £400, and she then hired the services of a local man to put it all together for her. That was going to cost an extra 150 quid. Well, while he was doing the job, he did say to Susan, this all feels rather flimsy.
That evening, I went up to the shed and opened the door with a view to starting to get some garden tools back in, and then I realised just how bad it was. There were so many knots, and it was a sunny evening. You couldn't have known this before, but you could see all the sun coming through the holes, and then I could see that the latch was tacky, the doors were not very strong, and since then it's rained, and although it's supposed to have a heat treatment on it, they did tell me when I queried about painting it with something to preserve it. They said don't do it yet because it's had this heat treatment. But since it's rained in the last few days and I've gone inside, there's actually so much water coming in so many places. I think the wood is actually just really shoddy.
Well, the company has said that they will give Susan back her money, but only if she completely dismantles it and sends it back in the same state it was in when it was first delivered. Well, Susan said she spoke to her guy that put the shed together for her, and he said, well, I'm afraid that's going to cost another 150 quid then if you want me to come back and do that. So Susan will end up in a state where she's paid 300 quid for absolutely nothing. to build a shed and then take it back down again. She's not very happy about it, and I'm not surprised. I've been speaking to the company, and I think it's safe to say the company's gone off me, if they were ever on me in the first place. Hello, Susan.
Oh, good morning, Jonathan.
Hi, Susan. So, as you will recall from the first response I had from them, they said that you contacted them on the 17th of April with a concern about green marks on the shed. It was explained that this was residue from the pressure treatment process. She then contacted us on the 20th of April to report further issues. She reported cracks in the knots on the side walls, which are letting in light. She then said this had become apparent during assembly. But rather than stop and contact us, she said she had no choice but to go ahead and to complete the assembly. We supplied instructions to Susan on how she could seal these natural cracks in the knots, and we directed her to the instructions, which explain that cracks are natural and not a defect. The instructions also recommend the use of silicone around the windows and at the panel joints to make the shed watertight, but her installer did not do this. Whilst we and the manufacturer might disagree with her assessment that the shed isn't fit for purpose, the manufacturer have agreed to collect it, but it must be returned in the same flat pack state as it was when it was delivered. The manufacturer has also offered to supply her with free silicone so she can complete the assembly properly, but she didn't want to do that. They then went on to say that this manufacturer manufactures thousands of sheds every year. They offer various construction types, with the overlap construction being the cheapest. That was the one that you'd gone for. Shiplap being mid-range, and tongue and groove being the most solid and subsequently the most expensive. This particular manufacturer's sheds are available from most of the UK's leading retailers. They said at that particular point you were refusing to dismantle the shed, but you continued to demand a refund. Well, after that, you had someone else round to come and have a look at your shed and give you a second opinion. And the chap that came round and had another look at your shed, he said to you, he absolutely backed up the installer. He said that it had all been installed properly, but the quality of the wood was just not very good. It was warped, it was bowed. The way that it was put together, or the way that it came to be put together, meant that there were gaps in it, and it was just very poor quality. And he also took some extra photos to help, didn't he?
Yes. Yes.
The original installer said he took pity on you and said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll dismantle it all for 50 quid rather than 150 quid. And you said, OK, well, can you just go ahead and do that then, please? So he has now dismantled it, and it is all in individual components to be sent back to the company. Yes. And you've paid the 50 quid. So as opposed to having to pay 300 quid to end up back where you started, you've only had to pay £200, which is still £200 more than I'm sure you're happy to pay.
Yes.
So I went back to the retailer again and explained the situation. I said, look, the shed has now been dismantled. Susan has organised for another person to come and have a look at the shed. They've taken some more photos. I sent over all of the photos that he took for you and said that it's very clear the wood is of poor quality, it's bowed, it was never going to be watertight or weatherproof. And I said to the company that, you know, I feel it's unacceptable that you're in this position, having paid all this money to end up with absolutely nothing to show for it, through no fault of your own. And the fact that they seemed to be very keen to keep talking about the manufacturer, and the manufacturer says this, the manufacturer says that. And at one point they had suggested that I communicated with the manufacturer about your shed. Well, I sent back a response, and I made it very clear I wasn't very happy with any of this. They've come back and they say, Jonathan, I did not suggest the customer speak to the manufacturer about the complaint. I suggested you speak to the manufacturer if you wanted to learn more about the different methods of shed construction. Well, I don't really, Susan, I'm not really that interested in different methods of shed construction. I don't really care how it's made. I just, like you, would expect it to be of reasonable quality and not to let the water in.
Yeah.
regardless of how it's made, it should be weatherproof if it's going to be fit for purpose. That's the whole point of a shed. You put your mower in it, you put your bits and pieces in it. You don't expect them to get soaking wet every time it rains.
No.
She went on, she said, the photos you sent over show air gaps between the overlapping board, which is perfectly normal. And suggesting that it's not would be extremely misleading. Well, I'll be honest with you, Susan, I don't have gaps like that in my shed.
No.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, there's dirty, great gaps in it. It is clear that the shed has not met Susan's expectations, and that's disappointing, because I can't think of any retailer that wants their customers to be disappointed with a purchase. However, we also have to acknowledge that there is a difference between a product not meeting expectations and a product being faulty. Having reviewed the photos that the customer supplied to us, the issues that she's highlighted were partly due to incomplete assembly and partly due to the natural behaviour of pressure-treated softwood. They were not faults, and information on how to deal with the natural movement of wood is detailed in the manufacturer's instructions supplied with the shed. I've carried out a complete review of the complaint and the issues that have been raised, and I summarise my findings below. 1. The shed was available to purchase either flat-packed for DIY assembly or professionally assembled by the manufacturer. The customer chose flat-packed for DIY assembly, and this was delivered direct to the customer by the manufacturer. 2. The customer did not check the pack contents before starting assembly. 3. When the installer told her that in his opinion he didn't think it was good quality, she went ahead with the assembly anyway. 4. The shed was not installed correctly in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. 5. The issues of cracks in the knots and air gaps between the boards are not faults and are to be expected with the material used and the method of shed construction. 6. We have offered to supply the sealant required to finish the assembly in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. 7. We have offered to collect the shed and issue a full refund of £389.95. As you quite rightly point out, that she continues in her email to me, the customer's contract is with us, so the request for a collection needs to come from her and not from you. We have previously offered to arrange collection, but this was declined, and we have not had any further communication from the customer since the 16th of May. I will, however, ask our customer service supervisor to contact her again, given the information you've provided, and we can then issue a refund or discuss her requirements and offer her advice on an alternative product that would better meet her expectations. I think they're hoping they can sell you another shed. So have they been in touch with you?
Yes, Jonathan. Yesterday I received a call from the customer supervisor, and she did say yes, she would now... she said, I understand you've had the shed dismantled. I said, yes, it's ready. She said she would then go to the supplier and put it as an urgent, as soon as possible collection. And as soon as they receive it back, I would get my refund. Then she went on to add that if I'm thinking of getting another wooden shed, she would recommend the other types of construction, as these sheds always go like this. She was polite enough, and I was polite back. I don't think you should be anything else to somebody in that position. It's not her fault, but I am angry about it. And the shed didn't go like that; it arrived like that.
Well, can I just ask? I mean, the very important part, as far as I'm concerned, is when that shed was sold to you. Did it say, "This is a cheap shed, this is cheap construction"? And you should therefore not expect this shed to be watertight without having to use huge amounts of silicone to fill all of the massive gaps that will be there between the planks of wood that will leave your shed completely open to the elements? I bet it didn't.
No, it certainly didn't.
Well, and that's the point, isn't it? It's all very well and good for the company to keep making it sound as if you have deliberately chosen a shed that was of a construction where, of course, there are going to be gaps in it that will let the rain through that will let the weather through. But the fact is, you're not expected to be an expert in the construction of sheds. You're a customer. And if I would argue that a garden shed, it may well not be luxurious, it may not be of the best quality wood, it may not look absolutely stunning like a luxury garden building if you're buying a cheap one, but it should be watertight. The whole point of a shed is to keep your lawnmower and your garden furniture or whatever it may be you want to shove in there, to keep it dry. And if they're selling sheds that, according to this woman who called you, always go like this, then I would argue it's not really fit for purpose.
No, unfortunately, obviously it's been very stressful, and rather than take it any further, I felt it was best just to cut my losses, as I said before, and have it collected, and hopefully I'll get the refund, and then I can think about what I want to do.
Yes, well, I mean, I certainly, if I were in, I certainly, if I were in your position, would not be racing to go and buy another shed from this company, because they are aware of the fact that this has now cost you a lot of money in terms of building the shed and then dismantling it. Now, they seem to think you're to blame, because I think their argument is, well, why did you go ahead and have it built? If your installer said this shed is rubbish and it's not going together properly, why did you say, well, carry on with it?
Yeah, well, he insisted that a lot of these other problems weren't obvious until it was put together, because it came in so many small parts, you see, Jonathan.
Yeah.
There were so many small parts to put together before the act. Yeah. Instead of getting like a back and two sides or something, it came in lots of small panels.
Yes. But the point is, this retailer, they know how much it's cost you, and at no point have they ever offered you any contribution to help you out. If they were coming back and saying, look, we really don't believe that the installer should have gone ahead with the building. However, we recognise that our customer in this case, through no fault of her own, finds herself in a position where she's now had to spend £200 to build and then dismantle a shed to end up with absolutely nothing. So therefore, we would like to make some kind of contribution. They're not offering any of that at all.
No.
So, why would you then go and give them more business by buying another shed from them? Well, just out of interest, what are you going to do about the shed?
Oh, at the moment, I just want to get it collected, because now, Jonathan, it's in my garden and it's all in the way. It's really in the way, and I'm a bit worried going out to hang out the washing, I might trip over it. So I just can't think ahead yet. Maybe I'm thinking on a plastic or a metal shed. I just can't get. I just want to have it, the worry off my mind. I want to have it collected out of the way, and I don't want them coming back saying, well, it's got a screw hole in it because you put it up, and not giving me the full refund. I just want to be happy that when I get the money back, then I'll be happy enough to think about what I'll do.
So what is the date that they're going to collect it?
She hasn't given me one, because she says she has to go back to the supplier, the manufacturer, and she said they will contact me. But she has put forward that it should be, as soon as possible.
Can you please keep me in the loop and let me know? Just out of interest, you're on the subject of, potentially a plastic shed. Peter in Stony Stratford is on the line. I think, Peter, you were going to suggest that. Hello, Peter.
Yeah, morning, John. Hi. Jonathan. A bit of advice. I mean, I had an old timber shed which had lasted 30 years, so I was well happy with it. But it had virtually deteriorated, and I did my investigation and decided on a plastic shed. It's 6x9. I paid £400 for it. It came flat packed from a well-known mail order organisation. My son's put it up for me because I'm a 80-year-old, and it's totally waterproof. It's totally weatherproof. It's pleasing to look at. The way it's constructed, you can put it all together, and it's very easy to take back down again if I ever move house, or if one of the boys wants to take it over when I pass on. and the centre ridge piece of the roof actually forms a skylight. It's transparent, so you've got light coming through the roof. You've got a window, and you've got a double door which is lockable.
Right.
I'm well pleased with it.
Well, it sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like you got shares in plastic sheds, Peter.
That sounds
It's
a really
the
good
first
idea.
time I've ever gone
I'm
that
pleased to hear that.
route.
Oh, hang on, you're both talking at once. You like the sound of that, Susan?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean,
Have a look on the internet, because there's a whole range of sizes, shapes and colours. I was limited for space, so I had to have a shed that had an opening on the narrow end, but you can get them in the form of a summer house or whatever. There's a very inclusive range of different styles and shapes.
Okay, lovely. Well, listen, we will pass on all that detail, and it may well help Susan in the future. Susan, please keep me posted. Let me know as soon as you've been told that that there is a delivery on its way, and we'll take it from there, okay?
Smith, BBC, Three Counties Radio.
Now, Adam came to me at the end of last week. He was telling me that he'd booked a holiday in May of last year for his sister's wedding, but unfortunately coronavirus ruined those plans, so the holiday was rescheduled for half-term this year, i.e. this week we're in now. But just 2 weeks before the school break, he was contacted by the holiday company to say, sorry, but we're cancelling your trip.
The issue was that the cabin we booked, or the accommodation we booked, was new and it hadn't been delivered to the site. What we did know is they had accommodation on the site, which they only offered us for an increase of what we'd paid, which obviously I found a bit difficult to deal with, because we'd booked some top accommodation you could for the site. They'd obviously just put their prices up due to the COVID situation. Obviously, we were frantically trying to rebook for the children to get a breakaway. They quoted 30 days for the money back. Obviously, to rebook, I needed my money. And as I stand here today, I think after several requests and numerous emails, still haven't been refunded.
Well, it's completely and utterly unacceptable, and an absolute blooming cheek that this company were trying to say to Adam that even though they couldn't provide him with any kind of trip at all, unless he paid extra, they were just going to leave him in this position. And when he said to me, when he came to me last week, he said, I haven't even had the money back from the trip that I have booked. Well, what an absolute cheek. I went off to speak to the company. Adam's back on the JVS show. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hello, Adam. Now, it sounded very much to me as if this company appeared to be trying to profit out of the predicament that they put you in, and that's exactly what I put to them. I believe they have made amends, because they came back to me first thing on Tuesday, actually, when I came back into the office on Tuesday. The response came through. It said, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We have now been in touch with Adam to resolve the issue. We've apologised for how it was handled initially. We have covered the cost, the difference in cost, for the replacement holiday that he has now booked. And we've also provided a voucher for a future visit to one of our parks. Now, that to me sounds very impressive. Is that what they've said to you, Adam?
They have indeed, yeah. They contacted me off the back of your communication, I assume, on Friday. They gave me an individual number to communicate with. They were quite responsive and, as you said, apologetic for what had gone on. They'd offered, as you just said, they'd pay the holiday back as soon as possible, and also the uplift in what we'd paid to go elsewhere, which
great.
Was great. The great solution. The only issue is they did mention that I'd have the money in my account by Tuesday this week, which still haven't got. Unfortunately, the lady I was speaking to is on holiday, so I still haven't got the funds, unfortunately. But
right. Well, I tell you what, I mean, that's not good enough. I was going to give the company the horn, but I'm going to hold off that. Can you leave it with me? I'm going to contact them this afternoon and ask them. It's all well and good. The words are warm and the words are positive, but where's the money?
Yeah.
Leave it with me. I need to go and do more work on that. Barry's on the line. Hello, Barry.
Good afternoon, Jonathan.
Good afternoon to you, Barry. I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Okay. A year or so ago, just over a year ago, I purchased a new lawnmower, and it all looked okay in the advertisements and everything, but obviously you buy these things and you're not able to actually use it first or have any experience of it.
Was it an electric mower, battery-operated,
no, this
petrol?
was a petrol one.
Petrol.
I've got a fairly large piece of land that I need to mow, so, you know, an electric one really I don't think would ever be man enough for the job.
Right.
But anyway, this machine, it all appeared when I took it out of the box. It was fine, everything seemed to be there. And the first time I come to use it, by the way, it arrived, I think it was February actually last year. But so I didn't use it for, you know, a couple of months.
How much was it?
And then, not regularly. Sorry, you were going to say.
How much was it?
How much was it? £120.
Oh, okay. So it's a cheap one.
Not an expensive one at all.
No.
But nevertheless, I still expected it to do the job.
Yes, I mean, there are obviously the amount of money you spend on something that does play a part in terms of what you can expect from it.
Right.
£120 for a petrol mower. Is this a rotary mower or a cylinder mower?
A rotary one.
Rotary, okay. So 120 quid will buy you a cheap petrol mower.
Right.
Now, with a cheap petrol mower, you can't expect, a very high quality lawnmower that's going to last you for. I mean, for example, I still have my old granddad's Haterette that must be probably about 50 years old. This Haterette. I've also got an old Suffolk Punch mower that I use that must be 30 odd years old. You know, you're not going to get that kind of quality of mower for 120 quid nowadays. But as you quite rightly point out, it should still be of reasonable quality and it should still last for a reasonable amount of time.
Well, I certainly expected it to last more than a year.
Yeah. So what's happened with it then?
Well, I mean, once I come to use it, I start finding out little things, niggly little things. Like, for example, the grass collector. It's not a terribly big grass collector, but it's even worse because the machine doesn't seem to have the power to throw the grass to the back of the grass collector. So it's full before it's actually even half full. If you take it off and tip all the grass to the back, you can then carry on mowing again. But,
and is that with dry grass as well as slightly wet grass?
Well, either. It doesn't seem to make any difference.
Okay. Because obviously when
of this took time to find last year because we went straight into a very warm, hot spell and the grass really stopped growing. So it wasn't until the autumn that I started to find out all these silly little niggly problems with it. I've got a list of about 10 different things that I've found, but this year it was sort of the final straw because, end of last year, the covering on the handle split at both ends. So I wrote to them and said this had happened, and after much sort of to-in and fro-in with emails, they wanted to see pictures of it and so on and so on, and it was like they didn't believe me. But eventually, they agreed to send me a new handle. Well, I only wanted the covering, but they sent me a completely new handle. But it was like they were doing me a favour. You know, as a goodwill gesture, they termed it. Which I thought was a little bit off. But anyway, this year I've now got it leaks petrol from the filler cap and from the little primer button that's on the side of the carburetors on
little rubber thing you have to push. Yeah.
Well, it leaks petrol out of there, and it leaks petrol or at least fumes out of the filler cap. It can only be fumes, but you can actually see a circle of moisture just under the filler cap, which presumably, I mean, if there was some form of ignition, it would burn because it's the fumes that burn anyway. So I wrote to them about that, and got a letter back to say that wasn't under guarantee. That was fair wear and tear. Well, I mean, the machine at that point hadn't been used for a year. I mean, it was 2 or 3 months before I started to use it from the time I got it. Then it didn't get used because the grass wasn't growing. Then, of course, we get to the end of summer and you don't use it anymore for the next 6 months because it sits in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
So, it hadn't been used 20 times in all.
No. In terms of what you're entitled to, you've got a cheap petrol mower that, because it's a cheap petrol mower, the quality is not there. Maybe the quality that you were hoping for and expecting isn't there.
It shouldn't have those sort of faults on it, though. It should be fit for purpose.
Absolutely, it should be fit for purpose. And I think what we need to make sure that we're doing when we go to the company, and I'm more than happy to contact them on your behalf, what we need to make sure we're doing is we are raising genuine, clear examples of there being faults with this product now. The only slight issue you must bear in mind, and it may well be the retailer's not interested in doing this anyway, but the retailer would be entitled, if they wanted to repair the product rather than give you a replacement or give you your money back.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I want is a machine that I can cut the grass with.
So what are the, obviously the leak on the petrol, that's quite an important one to stress. I'm not quite so sure that we should mention the fumes. Petrol mowers stink of petrol in my experience. It's just part of running a petrol mower. My petrol mower absolutely reeks of petrol. God knows. If you lit a cigarette anywhere near my petrol mower, it would take your face off. So I don't think we necessarily want to talk about the fumes, but I think the fact that it's leaking petrol.
Well, they asked for photographs, which is a bit difficult thing to take anyway, photographs. But I did actually take a photograph showing the on the fume side, the sort of like you could see the discoloration that was a different colour just underneath the cap, and I also caught it with a drip dropping from the primer.
Okay. So if we're going to talk about the leak in petrol, that's a fault. What else? What other faults are there that mean this machine doesn't work properly?
Well, no, it's the other faults are really just design problems.
Yeah, but you see that
in the instruction book it says that it can mulch as well, but I can't find out any way of making it mulch. So I actually wrote to the managing director, and this was like right at the beginning of last year, I've never had an answer to that letter. It was, sent in the Royal Mail, and no, I didn't register it, and no, I didn't have it tracked or whatever. You have to, I didn't think it was necessary. If I post a letter to the Royal Mail, I expect it to be delivered. And
I think, to be honest, in hindsight, Barry, based on the kind of garden that you've got and the amount of lawn, it probably would have been a better idea for you to go to a proper lawnmower retailer and buy yourself a second-hand, really good quality mower that's going to give you the kind of quality that you want going forward. You're just not going to get that from a 120 quid lawnmower. It's probably a cheaply made Chinese imported mower made of fairly low quality materials that is not designed to last for very long, and it may not even be designed to cut the kind of lawn that you've got. You need something that's really good quality, and every year when you get it out of the shed, you pull the old cord and off it goes.
Well, that's another one of the problems. When you get it started, and it seems to start okay when it's from cold, but once it's hot, it doesn't want to keep starting all the time. To empty the grass box is a mammoth problem, which is why emptying it's being a problem. And the fact that you have to empty it so often, because it's so difficult to get it started again.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the retailer on your behalf, and I'm going to stress all these issues, and I'm going to make it very clear that as far as you're concerned, from the story you're telling me, it sounds as if this mower is a load of old rubbish. It's not up to the job. You're not happy with it. And if you understand that obviously if they want the opportunity to repair it, then obviously you will provide them with that opportunity, although there's a list of design problems that are going to be very difficult for them to repair. I'm going to stress to them that I think maybe the best option, if they're prepared to do it, is to take it back and give you your money back. because I don't think there's anything that they can do to this mower that's going to make it live up to your expectations.
I would accept anything that is reasonable because, all I want at the end of the day is I don't get my money back or even a part of my money. I'm even prepared to say, all right, I've had it for a year now. I haven't been happy with it ever since I got it, but nevertheless, I'm not silly and I'm not greedy and I try to be reasonable with people. So, anything between fixing it or, giving me some sort of refund.
That sounds fine. Leave it with me, Barry. I'll see what I can do for you. Raymond came to me. He was telling me he'd purchased 2 pairs of magnifying reading glasses that hopefully were going to make reading his books and his magazines much easier for him. They cost him £34.98, and he was really excited about getting them.
I have my own prescription glasses, but it's getting a job to, read certain things, small print. So ideally, these glasses would allow me to read small print. They have never arrived, and I've phoned the company up 3 times to inquire about these glasses. They keep on giving me the same excuses every time I phone up. They have been dispatched. Is there anybody at home to take parcels in? Will you phone back in 2 days' time? We've got to check with the people who deliver our goods, etc. And that's the nuts of the problem, actually.
Well, it's a very simple question. Where are Raymond's glasses? I promised him I would try and get hold of them for him. He's back on the JVS show now. Hello, Raymond.
Hello again, Jonathan.
Good afternoon to you. Now, after the programme, I, of course, set about contacting this company, made contact with them, and they didn't respond. I made contact with them again, didn't respond. Now, in the meantime, it transpired there was a bit of confusion over who you'd actually purchased the spectacles from in the first place, because there were 2 different company names, but both based at the same address. And it was all getting very confusing. What I ended up doing was contacting the other company that's based at the same address. And thank goodness, rather than the brick wall of silence I had received from the other company, I received an email back quite promptly from a lady there. And she didn't seem aware of you, didn't seem aware of your order, but said if I could send over all the details, she'd look into it. And I did that. She then picked up the phone and spoke to you, and she gave you the good news that they were indeed going to resend the spectacles to you. Now, she came back to me just to confirm what had happened, and it would appear what had gone on was they say and they maintain that they did indeed send the 2 pairs of glasses out to you, but for whatever reason, the courier company didn't deliver them. They're not sure where the original order has gone to, but they're not going to worry about it too much. They were just going to send you a new pair of spectacles out, and you should have received those by now. The question is, Raymond, have you, and are you now a happy bunny?
I am a happy bunny because I have received them, yes.
Fantastic. And are they helping? Are they everything you expected them to be?
Well, I did expect them to be a little bit stronger than they are, but I mustn't grumble.
Well, they were £34.98, Raymond, so you can't expect for £34.98 that you're going to end up with the world's strongest and toughest glasses.
No, indeed not, no.
But as long as they are of reasonable quality and as long as they last for a reasonable amount of time. I mean, you should be aware, if you don't like them, if they're not up to the quality that you're expecting, you are within your rights, as long as it's within 14 days, to return them for your money back. But it just depends if they're bad enough to warrant doing that.
No, I won't... I won't take it any further. I'll just keep the glasses. Actually.
Right, OK. Well, just be gentle with them and hope they don't fall apart.
Hi, hello.
Good morning. I gather you have a problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Of course. Trees at the rear of my garden on the other side of the fence are very high, higher than my roof. Been on to the company concerned because I've done a land registry to find out who they belong to, because the council said they weren't theirs, and done so, been in touch, sent the information to them,
and they promised to get back in touch. But every time I phone, they've got used to my phone number now, and he's always in the meeting. I'm not saying he's not, but he never gets back to me. So he did promise to get back to me with an answer, but and I've given him quite a bit of time to do this, but I can't seem to get anywhere.
Right. They've written Janet the Troublemaker next to your number, have they? And they
probably
don't put Janet through. Don't put Janet through. She's going to be a nightmare about the trees. Probably. So the trees are enormous. What are the problems that the trees are causing?
Right. It's 3 trees. In fact, there's 3 neighbours involved. My next door neighbour, the tree roots are going underneath his patio, and really true, they're cutting out light. And they're so high, they're coming over the fence, the branches. It's just, they're too high, really, and we're worried about I don't think they'll fall down, but you never know. And we just need them seen to, really.
Well, this is the problem with trees, because trees are good. They're good news, aren't they, trees? Let's be honest, we need trees. We need lots of trees in the world. And trees are beautiful. And they're very good for the environment. You know, trees are good. However, and I say this as someone who has trees in my own garden, trees also require maintenance. And trees, if you don't maintain them, they get very quickly quite out of control, and they can then have a detrimental effect on other people that live nearby. If you live like you do, I presume, and like I do, in residential areas, trees do need to be managed. Unless you live in a forest, trees need to be managed. Mm-hmm. And that costs a lot of money, to be honest. Janet, have you ever had a tree surgeon round to come and deal with a tree?
I think, quite honestly, I imagine it is a lot of money.
Well, hundreds and hundreds of pounds per tree. If you want a team of tree surgeons to come in and start abseiling up trees and cutting great big branches off and managing the tree in the right way, you're looking at a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's not just something you can have done once. It needs to be every few years. You need to maintain the tree. Mm-hmm. Now, the owner of those trees has an obligation to you and to other people to make sure the trees on his or her land are maintained properly and are not having a detrimental effect on the enjoyment of other people's properties.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very frustrating that it would appear. I mean, you said it's a company. I don't want anything that will identify who they are.
No.
But this is commercial land, is it, on the other side of the fence?
Yeah, it is. And when I first got in touch with them, they said they didn't know anything about this estate. So they do, because they're the builders. So I don't understand. We've been here since '78, and he didn't have any idea about this section.
Right, but hang on a minute. So you're suggesting that the land on the other side of the fence is owned by the builders who built your house?
So they say on the land registry, yes.
Really?
Yes. I've been on to the council, and they did come back to me and said, no, it's not ours. And I said, well, who is it? And of course, they wouldn't tell me. So we done a land registry, and that's how we found out.
I see. And have you got, as part of your home insurance, Janet, have you got legal cover?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you spoken to your home insurance?
No, I haven't, no.
Well, that's good that you've got it. Well done for taking it out. And my advice to everybody listening to the programme, whenever your home insurance comes up, please, 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 always pay that extra. I know insurance is such a boring thing to spend money on, and it feels as if you've not made a claim, it feels as if you've just kind of thrown hundreds of pounds away. I totally get that. But honestly, legal cover, it's about 25 quid. It really is worth it, because it covers you for a range of legal issues that you may have, including even things like employment law. You know, if you suddenly find that your employer is treating you badly and you don't know whether what they're doing is correct, the chances are, if you've taken out legal cover with your home insurance, you've probably got employment law cover. So you'll be able to speak to lawyers and get assistance, and if necessary, get legal representation. So it really is, it's a good use of 25 quid as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the positive for you is that it may well be, if this builder still refuses to take responsibility for the trees, it may well be that your home insurance company will be prepared to sue them.
Right.
But let's hope that won't be necessary.
No.
Let me get a call into them. Let me see what they have to say for themselves, and let's take it
Okay.
from there, yeah?
Hopefully you got all the paperwork. We did send it through, so hopefully it did get through with the land registry.
I'm sure we will have it.
information.
I'll go
Hopefully,
through it
yeah.
all. If I need anything else, I'll get back to you.
Okay.
But leave it with me, and I'll see what I can find out for you this afternoon. Let's see if they write next to my name, Jonathan Vernon Smith, troublemaker.
Yeah, probably.
Don't put him through. Yeah, I'm quite used to it, to be honest, Janet. Right, leave it with me. I'll see what I can do. Okay. Andrea decided to spend more than £6,000 on 2 corner sofas and a kitchen wall unit. Well, all was well and good, but that was back in April. And Andrea was told at the point of purchase that the items would be delivered within 12 days. So where are they?
We had a text last night to say that the settees again would be delivered on Friday. I have no guarantee that this will happen because this would be now the 6th time they've told us that they will deliver. Nobody's communicating with us and nobody's telling us the reason why they cannot deliver. All I know is that we've made a purchase. We were told 12 days, and if they can't deliver, they should tell us the reason why, tell us what's going on, and even just have some communication. We have nothing to sit on, and we still don't know if by Friday we would be getting these settees.
Well, where's Andrea's furniture? Very simple. That's exactly what I went off to find out. Andrea's back on the JVS show. Hello, Andrea.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm marvellous, thank you, Andrea. I'm basking in how posh you are. I mean, to have 2 corner sofas. Oh.
No, it was well overdue. My last settee was 18 years ago, so I said it was a necessary treat.
Well, yeah, but your living room must be enormous. There's no way I could fit 2 corner sofas in my living room, but there we go. Now, I went off to speak to the company that you'd purchased the furniture from.
Yes.
They are NCF Living.
Yes.
And they came back with this response. We would like to apologise to Andrea and her husband for the mix-up on our behalf. There was an error whilst picking in our distribution centre, which meant that the incorrect sofas were delivered to Andrea and her husband by mistake. We've apologised for this mix-up, and we have offered to deliver the correct sofas to the customer on Thursday the 3rd of June, yesterday.
Yes.
The delay in contact with you, this is because I had to chase them up because I was getting a bit stroppy with them, to be honest, because I wasn't getting a response. The delay in contact was due to the bank holiday weekend when our offices were closed. We would like to offer our sincerest apologies to Andrea and her husband, and we're pleased that we can rectify this by delivering the correct goods this week. So yesterday was apparently the day. Andrea, what happened?
I have got my settees. And so Friday last, they did try to deliver, and as stated, they delivered the wrong ones. So it wasn't delivered. So yesterday, we had a call yesterday morning, and in the evening, they delivered the sofas. However, they delivered 2 right arms to one of the sofas. And so, and they were able to deliver the second right arm 8 o'clock this morning. So thank you so much, because now I have both sofas.
Right. So all the furniture you have bought and paid for, you have received.
I have cancelled the kitchen unit because I just cannot be asked to wait for the for any more delays.
That's a technical expression.
So I've got the sofas, and I don't know when they were ever going to deliver the kitchen unit, so I've cancelled that,
Right.
and I'm going to be settled in with the 2 sofas and call it a day. So thank you for your help, and I believe the urgency and the diligence that they even were able to deliver the arm that was missing this morning so promptly was because of your intervention. So greatly appreciated.
Well, they know I'm a nightmare, so NCF Living were probably thinking, oh, for goodness sake, quick, get it before she ends up on his programme and
Yes.
he starts ranting and raving about us. And they're absolutely right, I would have done. So I'm very pleased that everything's sorted out. Andrea, shall I thank them very much indeed and give them the horn?
Yes, please. Thank you so much as well.
Super stuff. OK, well, listen, any other problems, you know where we are, and enjoy your furniture. Peter's son, his daughter-in-law and his granddaughter all moved into a housing association property in December of last year. He says it's terrific property, but there's a very big issue with it.
The fence needed replacing. It was falling down, And of course, over the Christmas period and that, we had some winds and rain and it blew the whole fence down. We called the Housing Association. They eventually sent a guy out. He okayed it and said, yeah, this definitely needs replacing. Now we've had a letter or an email from the Housing Association saying it's not their responsibility and we've got to pay for it. When I spoke to them the other day, the lady was quite rude to me, just saying, check your terms and conditions. That's all she would say. But I did say to her, why should they be expected to buy a new fence when it was already in disrepair? And my worst concern is that she actually backs onto a train track, and I've got a little 2-year-old granddaughter, and I'd hate for her to fall down the bank and end up, against a metal fence near a train track. And also the next door neighbour, she has a friend round with a dirty great husky dog, and it bounds straight into their garden, and if my little girl's out there, it rolls all over the place.
Well, I promised Peter I'd get a call into the Housing Association, and indeed I have done just that. Well, let's find out what the latest is, because Peter's back on the JVS show. Hello, Peter.
Morning, Jonathan. How are you?
Hello, yes, I'm well, thank you. So just, first of all, a bit of a word of warning for everybody else listening to the programme. Just be aware, the olden days have gone. The olden days when council property tenants would receive all their maintenance provided by the council have by and large gone for many new social housing tenants. And you should always check your tenancy agreement with a housing association or with a council, because the chances are there will be various things that you as the tenant are responsible for maintaining. The housing association, in this case Sanctuary Housing, said whilst it is clear in our tenancy agreements that it is a tenant's responsibility to maintain dividing fences between properties, we acknowledge that we may have caused confusion in this case and will therefore arrange for the damaged fence panels to be replaced. We're in contact with the family to agree a suitable date for this work to be done. Well, that was good. That was great. When I spoke to you a couple of weeks later, you were starting to get a bit frustrated. You said, well, look, it's great. Yes, they have indeed agreed to do it. And in fact, they've sent not one, not two, but 3 surveyors round who've all stood looking at the garden where there should be fence panels. They've all taken photos. They've all said, oh, yeah, we need to get fence panels in here. But nothing's been done. So I chased them up again. And as you well know, they promised that they were going to try and fast-track things. Originally, they were going to go out next week, but in fact, they managed to move things forward. And I think they were due to turn up. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Day before, Jonathan.
Day before. What happened? Has it all been sorted?
We have a fence.
Oh, a full fence.
Yes, we have a complete set fence now, so we're now completely separated. Brilliant. There's no... It's fantastic.
Brilliant. And it all looks good?
Yeah. It's not the best of jobs, but it works.
Hang on a minute. Why is it not the best of jobs?
Well, the panels are not exactly sorted to the right height, if you know what I mean. It sort of goes a little bit up and down, but it's better than a row of bombed houses like it was before.
Well, that's very true. Now you just have to hope that the fence panels have been installed to a level that they're not going to blow over when we get some wind.
Because... If we get the first wind, I'll be coming back.
Oh, blimey. Right, well, look,
so... Like the last caller, no colourful language.
No. I wondered if anyone would notice that. I was hoping maybe not. Listen, are you a happy bunny then? Do we thank Sanctuary Housing and give them the horn?
Yeah, let's give him some, mate. Yeah, you've done an amazing job, and I'm so appreciative. And we've got a lovely little birthday party tomorrow, so...
Oh, lovely. And I think, actually, the weather's a bit rubbish today, but it's looking better for tomorrow, so I'm sure you'll have a lovely time out there in the garden.
Down to Castle next coming, so...
With no husky addition from next door?
No.
There we go.
Just loads of 2-year-old children, but there we go.
Oh, well, rather you than me, but
you're welcome to come.
Oh no! Thanks very much. A children's tea party doesn't really do it for me. Listen, we will.
Sunday's the big rest today, I think.
We will thank Sanctuary Housing. Give them the full horn. Any other problems, you know where we are. Now, Sam's mum is 87 and she's in quite poor health. She's lived in her property for 50 years. It's a privately owned property, and her garden, which is quite large, has become very overgrown, and the council's been in touch with her to tell her to clear it up.
The local council have threatened her with an ASBO if she doesn't clear the undergrowth on her property by the 3rd of June. despite me explaining several times that she's visually impaired and she can't read the letters they're sending her, they're ignoring her disabilities, and they've even taped these letters to the front door, referring to her house as the premises. So I've pointed out to them it's not a kebab shop, it is an elderly lady's home. Their current objection is that the undergrowth on her land can harbour pests such as rats, and we've had several pest treatments, and we've been given no evidence to kind of back up that that's the case. To make things worse, because the back garden in particular looks unloved, neighbours have fly-tipped from renovations and things, so the council are unhappy about that and want her to remove that waste. Wouldn't it be more reasonable to work with us on a plan that's achievable rather than say we're going to give you an ASBO?
Well, Sam says the local authority seems to be ignoring her mum's welfare in the way they're dealing with all of this. She feels they're being unreasonable. The time scale they've put to her is unreasonable as well. I've been off to have a word with the local authority. Sam's back on the JVS show now. Good morning to you, Sam.
Morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. So let me just briefly run through where we're at for any new listeners to the programme. I went off to speak to the council concerned. It's Welwyn Hatfield Council. They came back with this. They said, we have received many complaints from neighbours dating back to 2016, largely concerning rats from a large accumulation of waste in Sam's mum's garden. Since then, we've made every attempt possible to engage with Sam's mum and her family to tackle the build-up, including help with the clearance, rat baiting and assistance to resolve any underlying issues. We are concerned for Sam's mum's welfare, but sadly our every offer of support was turned down. With all options exhausted and with unresolved concerns for the health and safety of Sam's mum and those living nearby, we wrote to explain that enforcement action was a necessary last resort. We sent this letter in December 2019, but despite follow-ups by officers and allowances made for the pandemic, we've seen no signs of improvement. The council has a duty to tackle rat infestations, and Sam's mum has had 14 months to carry out necessary work. This letter, second letter, gives Sam's mum additional time for this work to be carried out before the council will have no choice but to serve notice. Our door, as always, remains open should Sam's mum and family have any questions or need to discuss the situation further. Well, when I put that to you, you really disagreed. I mean, you did accept that this has been going on for some time. However, you take issue with the suggestion that they've offered you lots of help. You say that they haven't, and you've been asking for help, and the help hasn't been forthcoming. And I said to you, well, okay, how can I try and assist you in terms of moving this forward now? Because it's very obvious that the council feels that the garden does need to be cleared, and whatever has been done so far isn't enough. So let me see what I can do. And you said, well, the two things that you could help me with, firstly, to get an extension to the length of time that they're giving to get the job done, but most importantly, to help us find a contractor that will be able to come in and do the work that's necessary. Well, I went back to the council. The council said that they were happy to help you find a contractor. And they also went on to say if the works aren't done by the date specified on the warning letter, she will get a further 2 weeks from that date to comply. So in other words, there's an extra 2 weeks being given to get the work done over and above the date on the letter. Now, you and I discussed all of that last week. Have you managed to find a contractor now? Has that all been done?
Unfortunately not. We started the work as I promised ourselves, but because of the pandemic, contractors aren't even coming to quote. So I'm sending things out through websites and all sorts of places, but they're so heavily committed. So I have been in touch with the council. They haven't contacted me about helping me, but I've asked them if they can help, and I haven't heard back yet.
What you mean in terms of if the council can use their own contractors?
Yeah, or make some suggestions, because obviously this is the kind of work they do, so they might have other suggestions. I've tried different charities, the local parish council, the local councillors, just to get kind of any ideas of support we can get to kind of move things forward.
And in terms of garden clearance companies and garden maintenance companies, I mean, I presume you've exhausted all of them in the area.
I'm feeling like I have, unless anyone has any other suggestions. But the local
out of interest, I mean, what area is your mum in? Welling or Hatfield?
Hatfield.
I'm in Hatfield. Okay. So, but you, in terms of going through garden contractors in the Hatfield area, you've kind of called them all, or certainly you feel you've called them all, and they're all busy.
Yeah, I'm not even getting responses back, which is making me think that they can't take the work. They don't even want to quote for it. So I'm having problems even getting quotes.
Okay. In the meantime, we did receive a call from a gentleman by the name of John Donnelly, who's a rehabilitation officer for the visually impaired in Hertfordshire, and he's got an idea of something that may well be of assistance. He's on the other line. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your suggestion then for the family?
I was listening to the programme, and obviously the concerns for this particular lady, and I'm a little bit more concerned this morning to hear of her age and the difficulties that she's been put under. I have spoken to my manager, Sabina Iqbal, who's the manager of the sensory services team, and we have agreed in principle that what could happen is that Mum could apply for a direct payment as a one-off payment to support the clearance of the garden, which potentially might give her up to £500 for that direct payment to then support this process to take place. There is an organisation, it's called Green Aid, it's in Hertfordshire. They will do a one-off blitz clearance of a garden. I know that at the moment they're waiting for funding, but I think that if they have the funding, as in the direct payment, this would probably give them adequate finances in order for them to put their team together to clear the garden for them as a one-off. It'll either be a day or 2 days of work. They'll blitz the whole lot. They'll level everything off. Some of the gardeners done have been an absolute nightmare, but at least the garden would be clear of all the rubbish and debris and all the unwanted plants, etc. The other option is to go to Hearts Health. Now, Hearts Health will advocate on Mum's behalf. They have an advocacy service there. They will support her to be able to approach the council to make appropriate representation, possibly to get a further delay, but I'm not sure on that, whether that would be possible for them at this particular stage.
And how much does it depend on the family's circumstances? Because, I mean, obviously there is all kind of assistance that is out there for people who don't have the means to be able to maintain their gardens. Sam's mum, it's quite important to point this out, Sam's mum owns her own property. This is her property. This is her garden. She's not social housing tenant. She's not a council tenant. This is her own property. So would those organisations still help someone who ultimately has the responsibility for maintaining their garden themselves?
The only restriction that would actually that would impede on that would be if she's got over £23,500 in the bank. At which point they would say, well, OK, you would need to make a financial contribution towards that. But owning your own home it's not a barrier to either of those two organisations or to the one-off payment through the council. They just need to call into our team, have a referral made. Obviously, it's quite urgent for a one-off payment for this support to be given. So that there would be no barring or restrictions from what I can see at this particular point.
Right. So, Sam, this may well be an avenue worth exploring.
It sounds brilliant, thank you.
But ultimately, it's still going to involve a team of people coming in to do this garden. But also the other thing, and I this is something that I feel I have to mention. This is not just going to be a one-off thing, is it? Gardens, when you have a garden, I speak as someone who has a house with a garden myself, it'd be lovely if all you ever had to do was go out there once and then never touch it again. Gardens have a horrible habit of growing and growing and growing, and things in them tend to grow, and keeping on top of the maintenance and keeping on top of it it's really important, because otherwise it becomes unmanageable. So, I'm not quite sure what you're going to do, Sam, in terms of keeping on top of the garden once it's been cleared. Have you broached that with your mum yet?
Well, yeah, I'm just on my way down there to talk to her now. I think because of her health problems, the garden's become overwhelming, and then kind of getting someone to do it is a bigger task. I think once it's actually, the ground is cleared, she had a regular gardener that only stopped in kind of was due to kind of the pandemic, so we could see whether he could come back every week and maintain it. That's not a problem. And then we'll obviously have to look at longer term options for Mum, kind of with regard to, you know, maintaining the house, etc. But I think if we can get I think what's causing so much anxiety at the moment is this overwhelming job that we need to get on top of. And if we can do that, I think we can work through the rest.
Yeah. Well, if I get any suggestions from any contractors in the Hatfield area who are prepared to take on this job or prepared to at least quote for the job, John, what we'll do, if it's okay, are we okay to put Sam in touch with you?
They would probably need to come through the social services number to contact for us to make a self-referral in.
Okay.
I'm happy to give you that number either now or afterwards. But if they call in, obviously describe the situation. It is quite urgent at the moment, that you'd be looking for that one-off financial payments towards that. It's very similar for other people who have, you know, that are hoarders, you know, the similar kind of payments. It's a very similar kind of project. So I can't see, and neither can my manager see, that there'll be a major issue with making that application.
Okay, fine. But you can pass on the number for Sam to speak to and to try and get some assistance.
Absolutely.
Fine. Okay, well, John, listen, that's very useful information. Sam, if you hang on the line, we'll make sure that you've got the telephone number necessary to call. What I will do as well is I'll just drop Welwyn Hatfield Council an email this afternoon and just say you don't feel that you've yet got a contractor who can do the job. Have they exhausted their list in terms of providing you with ideas in the area of companies that could come round and assist on this particular front? And let's reconvene beginning of next week. Does that sound like a good idea? Do you remember Amy? Amy came to me. She was telling me that she purchased an exercise bike using an online voucher company. But when it arrived, she was very disappointed.
The bike arrived in good time. That was fine. Put the bike together and it was absolutely not fit for purpose at all. So basically the bike pedals didn't actually work. So when you turned them, the wheel didn't turn. There were bits missing. There was bits that were bent. The seat, the handlebars were all quite loose. Even when sort of completely tightened, it was just really poor condition, really, and was obviously very unhappy with that.
Well, she's not at all happy. The product should have been fit for purpose. But sometimes these things happen. So she'd expected that when she contacted the retailer, they would apologise and say, OK, we'll get it, you know, back to us, we'll get you another one out or whatever. But this whole idea that she'd have to pay £40 to send back a broken exercise bike that she'd been sent, well, I can absolutely understand why she was pretty livid. Well, I went off to have a word with the company, or I should say companies, because this exercise bike was ordered through a company called Woucher, one of these voucher companies. There was then a retailer connected to all of this as well. When I last spoke to Amy, I was rather frustrated that I hadn't at that point received a response from Woucher, and I made it very clear that if they wanted to provide a response, I would receive it eagerly. Well, they've now sent one. Amy's back on the JVS show. Hello, Amy.
Hello, Jonathan.
They speak. They finally speak. They finally want to have their say, which is good. Now, let me just bring everyone up to speed with where we were at last time we spoke. So the company concerned who had sent out the exercise bikes, a company called Bing Bang Bosch, they said, we offer a 14-day no-quibble money-back guarantee on all items. This means if the customer does not wish to keep the item and wants to return it, we accept the return and the customer is able to forward the carriage of the goods back to us. Typically, most customers are unable to send this item back for themselves because it's not a standard parcel size or weight, so we offer to arrange the collection on behalf of the customer. That's, well, to be honest with you, let me just interrupt their statement and point out that that is otherwise known as the Consumer Contracts Regulations, otherwise known as Distance Selling Regulations. That's what it used to be known as. And that means when you buy something from a mail order or internet company, you have 14 days if you decide for whatever reason you do not like it to return it. There are some exceptions, but most things you can return within 14 days for a full refund. But very often it is the case that if you've changed your mind, you have to pay for the postage. But this was nothing to do with the Consumer Contracts regulations, because this was a faulty item, wasn't it, Amy? And that's why you were so grumpy about having to pay the £40. Understandably so. The statement continues, the customer in this case, in the customer's case, it appears she'd received a damaged plastic sleeve, which we offered to replace, but the customer declined. Well, you said to me last time you don't know anything about a damaged plastic sleeve. The customer service rep who was dealing with this had categorised this case as a 14-day money-back guarantee case, which was why he asked the customer to either send the item back or if they wanted us to collect it, we would charge £40. In this case, however, after taking a closer look, it's not a 14-day money-back case, it's a damaged item case. We offered a new replacement also, but the customer declined. We are happy to accept the return and would like to ask the customer to send images of the item packed away, ready for collection, along with a confirmation of their email address, of their full address and their telephone number. We can try and get the goods uplifted for Friday if the email is received today. Well, that was earlier this week. So, that was kind of an admission that they'd made a bit of a mistake and that they were going to hopefully come and pick it up. And I presume that was going to be done at no cost to you, Amy. It would be absolutely outrageous for them to expect you to pay the £40. In the meantime, as you know, I was quite grumpy because Woucher, the company you'd ordered this exercise bike through, had not responded and had not provided a response in time for my programme. That's now changed, and they've come back with this statement. They say Woucher was disappointed to learn of this customer's unfortunate experience with one of our merchants. This is not reflective of Woucher's practices, nor those of its merchants more generally. We have assisted the customer in resolving this issue and shall be speaking to the merchant involved to ensure that this does not reoccur. So what's happened since we last spoke, Amy? Has that bike gone, and are you now all sorted and a happy bunny? Oh, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
I'm happy in the sense that I've now received a refund, so I actually have that in my bank, and that is a full refund, so I'm really happy in that respect. I still have the bike actually packaged and ready to go, but haven't actually heard back from the retailer with regards to when they're going to come and collect that. And I have actually sent them a couple of emails to sort of chase that up with no sort of information on that.
And I'm sure you will have seen, because I copied you in on my email as well, that I also contacted Bing Bang Bosch just to confirm that everything was as they said it would be, and that, very importantly, you were going to get a full refund back, not a refund less £40, and they haven't responded to that either.
No.
So, I mean, that is disappointing. Well, to be fair to them, they do say in their statement, they do say that they will be collecting it on Friday. Now, you sent over the photographs that they had asked you to send, so I don't see any reason why that would not be the case. So, fingers crossed, by, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock this evening, I would hope that that exercise bike is out of your house.
Yeah, and actually Woucher have said if I don't hear back from them, then to contact them and they will actually arrange collection, so that will be my backup.
Okay, good. Well, it sounds as if they're now, finally whirring into action to get this resolved for you, which is good. Which is very good. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Listen to this. Oh, it's about half of the horn. I'm going to reserve the rest. Can we please speak to you on Monday to make sure that everything's been done?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Great stuff. OK, we'll put you in for Monday's programme, and I will look forward to speaking to you then. And fingers crossed, Woucher and Bing Bang Bosch will receive the rest of the horn. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Jonathan.
Peter, I gather you have a consumer problem. Tell me all about it without naming any company names, please.
Okay, sure. In July 2020, at the start of lockdown, I bought a bicycle in the store as I was needing a new bike for work. And on the 19th of April, when I was going up a hill, pedalling slowly, the bike just snapped in half. I checked it, but I always check my bike before I start work, and there was no issue with the bike at all.
Okay, so let me just stop you there. I mean, I'm horrified by what you're telling me so far. It sounds outrageous. It sounds extremely dangerous. Were you okay when the bike snapped in half?
Luckily enough, I was. I know that was the first thing that that my parents asked me about. Luckily, I was all right, and because I wasn't on the other half of the bike that was snapped.
Thank goodness you weren't coming down a hill when the bike snapped, because that could have been absolutely awful if you were going at speed. How much was the bike?
The bike was £499.99.
£499.99.
Yep.
Okay, and it snapped in April 2021?
Yes, the 19th of April.
19th, okay. But you were okay, but obviously left with a bike that snapped in half, which is not ideal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I presume you've gone back to the retailer where you bought it from. What have they had to say?
Yes, I contacted them the next day after from their open times. I called them and they told me to look elsewhere. They told me to look on Google to find someone else.
What?
So I thought that as well. I thought that was odd as well. So then after they said that, I emailed the manufacturer of the bicycle. They responded asking for the photos of the snap bike, which I did. I sent them the snap bike. I told them about what the bicycle said, the bicycle store said, and they didn't comment on that. They just they only wanted me to take the bicycle to the store.
Right. Hang on a second. So I don't know how much you listen to my programme, but if you do, you will know that you don't have any contract at all with the manufacturer. Your only contract is with the retailer that you bought that bike from. They have, I presume this is a British retailer?
Yes.
Okay. So when they sold you that bike, they sold you that bike that is protected by the Consumer Rights Act of 2015. As a consumer, you have this legislative protection. What that states is the bike must be fit for purpose, it must be of reasonable quality, and it must last for a reasonable amount of time. Now, the fact that the bike snapped after such a short amount of time, not even a year's use from the bike, would suggest to me that unless you have been abusing that bike in some way and have been misusing it, which I presume you haven't, Peter. I mean, you sound like a kind of decent sort. You don't sound like the kind of person who'd, be trashing your own bike.
No, I definitely don't, because like I said, I use it for work, so I wouldn't be manhandling the bike.
Okay, you're not taking it to, some kind of BMX track or anything like that, where it's putting it through things that it's not designed to be used for?
No.
Right.
Definitely
okay.
Not.
Well, in that case, the retailer has an obligation to you. What I don't quite understand is you say you took it back to them and they told you to go and look on Google. Look on Google for what?
I know. I was bemused by that as well from their comment.
But did you ask them, or what? Why are you sending me to look on Google for what? This is your responsibility. You're the retailer. You've sold me this product.
I know. That's what I'm confused about as well.
But what did they say? Or they just didn't give any explanation at all?
All they said was just look on. The first time they only just said to look on Google for a bike repairer. I'm thinking, if you're the retailer that I bought it from, then surely you can help out.
So they were expecting you to take your bike and have it repaired at your own cost when the bike's not even a year old?
Yes.
Ridiculous.
I thought that as well.
Okay. Now, the manufacturer, you got them involved, and what have they said? I presume they're just saying, look, your contract's with the retailer, they're the ones that need to resolve this issue for you, not us.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it sounds like I need to go and have a little word with them. Whereabouts did the bike snap? Was it on a welding joint or?
I was just pedalling slowly up a hill because when I usually come back
I understand that. Whereabouts on the bike did it snap?
It snapped near the frame. The whole frame snapped off.
Yeah, but where? Near the pedals, or is it where the metal would have been welded to another part of metal?
Metal, yes.
Right. Okay. Yes. Well, it sounds as if I need to go and have a word with this company, and I think just one final quick question, Peter, and I'm sorry, this is a bit rude. But are you of average weight?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Right. Okay. It's only that if you were, 30 stone or whatever, and were trying to ride this bike, then I guess the company could say that you put it under an abnormal amount of strain. But if you're a normal weight, then this bike has clearly not lasted for a reasonable amount of time. Can you leave it with us, and I will go and have a word with the company and try and find out what's going on. I'll pass you back to the team now. We'll get some detail, and I'll contact them for you this afternoon. Jean came to my programme because her daughter has been receiving packages sent to Jean's address. They're in Jean's daughter's maiden name, a name that she's never had an account with eBay in, and she hasn't lived at Jean's house for the last 7 years. Well, after receiving 3 or 4, she decided to open them, only to find that they contained weird bits of electronics.
Wires, connections, computer switches, timers, laptop keyboards. We contacted the company and they said, we're doing nothing wrong. The packages are addressed to you. They're your packages. Don't worry about it. I and my daughter, we went to the police. But the police said there's no crime being committed and they couldn't do anything. They advised me really just to return them, because on the front of the envelope it's a prepaid label and it's got the sender's address. We've had 98 packages now, all from different senders from all over the country. The post office van arrived, knocked the door, and he'd gone. I went to the door and we'd got a treadmill. Things came to a head the week before last. The post lady, she couldn't get the box out of the van. It was so heavy. So my husband said to her, we're just refusing delivery. We don't want it. Take it back.
Well, what on earth is going on? I mean, it's annoying, but it's also a bit unnerving. Why has Jean's daughter's name and Jean's address become associated with a group of people that they know nothing about? It's all just a bit weird. Well, I promised that I'd go and have a word with the company where all of this seems to be originating from. They are eBay, and Jean's back on the JVS show. Hello, Jean.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Jean. So I've spoken to eBay, and they've come back with this. They say, we are very sorry to hear of the distress caused to Jean and her daughter. eBay has zero tolerance for users that attempt to exploit others, and we've taken appropriate action on the seller to prevent this happening again. We urge anyone who believes they may be a victim of fraud to contact the police, and eBay will assist with any investigation. Now, they go on to say, background information, buyers who have recently purchased from this account are still protected for 30 days, eBay money-back guarantee. So it is possible that returns will be opened in this time and will be auto-accepted by our EMBG system, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It may well be that Jean's daughter sees some deliveries come up to and shortly after 30 days from today.
Right.
These will eventually cease, and we'd advise her to donate the items if she wishes to get rid of them. We don't have the ability to know how this seller might have obtained Jean's daughter's name and Jean's address, but if she'd like to investigate further, we would recommend contacting the police, and we will always support all police investigations by providing evidence as needed. We have integrated detection systems to help detect stolen identity. These systems use a set of filters to screen new seller accounts. In addition to this detection system and filters, our seller risk management team frequently screens accounts and asks sellers to provide proof of identity, address, and supplier. In all instances, if a seller is found to have committed stolen identity, we will suspend their account indefinitely. With the recent arrival of eBay managed payments, all sellers will soon be required to provide proof of ID, proof of address, and proof of business. So I think I think we're nearly there, Jean. I think it's sorted.
Brilliant.
They appear from that statement to have identified who it is on their platform who's been wrongly using your daughter's name and address. So
it sounds like it.
It does, doesn't it? And it sounds as if, although there is stuff that may well have just gone out, that, theoretically could be returned to that seller. So in other words, your daughter's going to get that stuff. Hopefully within just over 30 days' time, that will then stop and it will no longer be an issue.
Brilliant.
Okay?
Yeah.
It sounds great, and I'm going to give eBay this. Some of the horn. Can you and I have a chat in just over 30 days' time? We'll touch base again. We'll see what the situation is with the parcels. Hopefully you'll be saying, do you know, it's great. We haven't had one for weeks now.
Yeah, but the postman will be happy.
I'm sure, particularly if he's having to try and offload a treadmill off the back of the vehicle the other day.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, well, look, fingers crossed things are going to be sorted, but I'm going to keep in touch with you and I'll keep in touch with eBay just to make absolutely sure, okay?
Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Jean, any other problems, you know where we are, but we'll talk anyway in the next 30 days.